The Pirate Journey of Arceus. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 451. One is stingy, the other has no money. With the help of the local garrison, the slaves of Mary Gi's managed to escape with only a few casualties. The withdrawal of all members was an overly idealistic result. Even if the celestial dragons asked to capture these escaped slaves alive as much as possible, there would still be deaths in the battle. Slaves are not just vases for the celestial dragons to enjoy. There are also some war slaves in the arena. Most of the slaves who died and were injured came from this part. Ahem. This guy's really ruthless. In the ruins, the major general stationed here climbed up. Tiger suddenly punched him before retreating. The man who could defeat the Fishman Street and let Jinbei willingly call him the boss was not a weakling among the fishmen. During this period of time, Tiger was the strongest among the fishmen on the sea, and the innate strength attribute of the fishmen was 10 times that of humans. That punch made the major general understand that, even if he really took action, he would not be the opponent of the opponent. At this time, he felt some blood surging in his body, which was the effect of the Fishman Karate. Fishman Karate can not only use water as a means of attack, but also attack the water in the enemy's body, making the attack cause greater damage. Fishmen who are proficient in Fishman Karate can even cause damage to natural ability users with just a punch without using haki. Major General, those guys have already escaped. What are you doing? Go chase them. He didn't hate this punch, otherwise he would have a hard time explaining himself. Major General, the other ships have been pierced by the fishmen. This is the most common tactic used by fishmen on the sea. Their priority target is usually not people, but ships. If they lose their foothold, even non-ability users will suffer in the sea. Then there is no other way. Let's wait for support from the headquarters. Where is the medic? Find him quickly. As he said this, he began to pat his chest and even coughed up some blood, but his confidants always thought that he was beating it himself. The explosion of the arsenal made them look shabby, but no one thought there was anything wrong. After dawn, they did not question the faults of the defenders. However, Sora still replaced the defenders here, and the original people stayed in the headquarters to temporarily carry out logistics work. The bounty order for Fisher Tiger also spread across the sea with the waving of the wings of the news bird. Even some people with special identities appeared in the kingdom of Ryugu for the first time in a long time. Messengers from the world government. It was very fast from Mirijoa to the Sabaody archipelago. He came with an urgent order from the world government. At this time, they finally remembered that the kingdom of Ryugu was still a member of the world government. And their purpose here was also very simple, to ask the kingdom of Ryugu to hand over Fisher Tiger. Neptune did not refuse this, saying that as long as Tiger was caught, he would be handed over to them, but whether to send someone to catch him was another matter. Tiger discussed many things with Neptune and Otterheim before the operation. They were also the only ones who knew what Tiger had experienced. Moreover, Tiger said before the operation that, whether he succeeded or not, he would not return to Fishman Island in the near future. The status of a member country is still very important to Fishman Island. Without this status, their situation will only get worse. At the same time, the fishmen who knew about Tiger's situation also became excited. The predecessor of Fishman Street was a large orphanage, and somehow it became what it is now. There are a large number of unemployed vagrants from Fishman Island living in it, and Tiger is very famous among them. Now they all plan to go to Tiger. For example, Arlong has begun to gather his brothers. Even the few fishmen who originally followed Manderfish had the same idea. At this time, they were saying goodbye to Manderfish. Brother Manderfish, we go. It's not like we will never see each other again. If it doesn't work, just report my name. This name is more or less useful on the sea. In fact, it's not just a little useful, but quite useful, because the name Kaido second plus his similar abilities. Some people on the sea really regard him as Kaido's son, and even some places have spread the word that he is Kaido's successor. I knew you guys were going to go. This is a parting gift for you. Manderfish threw a box over. It was the sample of arms that Kojiro had brought over. Because the kingdom of Ryugu refused to purchase it, the batch of goods had been stored here. Now it just happened to be useful. Although it was just a sample, they were also high quality weapons. Manderfish only took a little bit, and Kajiro has now found an opportunity to sell the remaining part. Although there are many fishmen, except for Tiger, they basically listen to the orders of Arlong and Jinbei. As for the traffickers of the Marco Luo trio who wrestle their own people, Kajiro doesn't like them at all. Because of Tiger's matter, Zyoba, who originally sold to Koyuki, also planned to close the shop and go out to sea. He gave Zyoba some weapons and asked him to talk to Arlong. This time it was not a friendly aid. Manderfish was because of the friendship between him and those brothers, while Kajiro was just doing business. Eren was very satisfied with the weapons that Zyoba brought, but he didn't buy any of them because in his opinion, these weapons were too expensive and he could buy at least 10 times the amount of arms elsewhere. Although Eren was quite good to his fellow tribesmen, he was greedy and stingy. In his opinion, it was completely unnecessary to spend such a large amount of money, and the physique of fishmen did not need to rely on such weapons. Although Eren did not open an order, Jinbei became interested in these weapons, but he had an equally embarrassing problem. He was willing to buy this batch of arms, but his situation was the opposite of Eren's. One had money, but was unwilling to spend it, and the other wanted to buy it, but had no money. The salary of the captain of the Ryugu Kingdom army was not small, but he also had many places to spend money, and the money he saved was not enough to buy these weapons. Can't it be cheaper? Mr. Jinbei, I've already given you a 20% discount. These weapons are much more accurate than ordinary weapons, and they are waterproof and moisture-proof. Even if you raid underwater, it won't affect their use. The special bullets can even allow you to fire underwater. This price is already very cheap. Although he doesn't like humans like Arlong, he is not as extreme as Arlong, and will not hate everyone, especially people like Kajiro who get along well with fish people. But, can this be written as an IOU? I'm sorry, Mr. Jinbei, we don't support loans, but if you are willing to help a little, it's okay. Do you remember those people who were imprisoned for kidnapping Rusalka not long ago? Chapter 452, Mining and Entertainment. You mean their sentences are too long, and you don't have to do anything. It's enough to let them get the key accidentally. Rusalka lives on Fishman Island. Although there are some inexplicable rumors, she also has her own social life. Manderfish doesn't want to ignore the laws of the Kingdom of Ryugu directly, otherwise Rusalka will be embarrassed in the future. But he has always been unhappy that those people are alive, so he needs them to escape from prison. Mr. Jinbei, kidnapping people of the same tribe is scum even among the fishmen, right? In the end, Jinbei agreed to the deal. When he returned to the Kingdom of Ryugu to resign, he made a little mistake with his last power, and then left Fishman Island with a large amount of arms, and followed Arlong and others, to embark on the pursuit of Tiger. Manderfish, who received the news, did not show mercy. He intercepted them before they fled back to Fishman Street and completely ended this hatred. After escaping from Mary G.I.'s, most of the slaves went their separate ways, while the fishmen stayed with Tiger. They used the sun symbol set up by Tiger to cover up the original Sky Dragon seal, and made it impossible for all members to distinguish whether others had been slaves. The Sun Pirates, composed of fishmen, began their adventure on the sea. Fisher Tiger pursued a peaceful policy during the voyage, requiring the crew not to harm humans without reason, including those who were at war with them. Although he defeated many Navy and bounty hunters who were chasing them, he also defeated many pirates who wanted to use them to become famous. This is the most effective way for pirates to gain fame, to defeat the most popular person at the moment. When the title of the Emperor of the Sea just came out, whether it was Kaido, Whitebird or Big Mom, they would encounter challengers who were ignorant of the sky and the earth from time to time. They used the corpses of losers to completely establish their position. However, although there were many people defeated, Tiger always advocated not to kill humans, because the meaning of the Sun Pirates was liberation and freedom. He often told his companions, "We won't kill anyone." If other people said this, most fishermen would sneer. But Tiger was different. His reputation was too great. Jinbei was gradually influenced by Tiger. Even Arlong began to be careful, but he was still very heavy. Arlong, big brother, After another battle, Tiger found Arlang. Although he had talked several times, the results did not satisfy Tiger. Humans are not all bad people. You should know that Whitebeard's flag protected Fishman Island. And I heard that you have a good relationship with Manderfish. Big brother, don't mention that guy. That bastard is actually a human pretending to be one. I don't know where he got the ability to not be afraid of water. Don't be so stubborn, Arlang. Didn't you notice that your tone has changed? Tiger patted Arlang on the shoulder, then walked back to the cabin and planned the future voyage according to the sea chart. On Fishman Island, after a period of sailing, Tesoro, who replaced Kajiro, also arrived at Fishman Island, and he was warmly welcomed by Otterheim. Because he represents the beast fruit, even if there is also a pirate group behind the beast fruit has a completely different meaning. It is a legal enterprise of the world government. The employees of the enterprise can choose to travel through Merijoa Red Port instead of Fishman Island. The contact between legal enterprises and Fishman Island has a lot of overlap with her philosophy. Today, the most powerful force on the sea is still the world government. If you want to live freely, the attitude of the world government is very important. Although fishmen have a natural aquatic advantage, there is only one sun tree eve. This is the only way for Fishman Island to get sunlight in the deep sea, which leads to the fixed living position of most fishmen and mermaids. If it really leads to a split between the two tribes, it will do more harm than good for the fishmen. Although Otterheim's idea is naive, the future she imagines is based on the current situation and is the best policy for Fishman Island. Mr. Tezulo, Miss Stella, please come this way. King Neptune and Princess Otterheim have been waiting for you for a long time. Led by the Left Minister of Catfish, they came to the reception room of the Kingdom of Ryugu. Right Minister Kaido took over the post of Commander of the Seeking Army after Jinbei left office. At this time, he was inspecting the guards at the prison. This was the impact of the previous jailbreak. Then there were familiar polite words, but compared with the chattering of those people in Mirijoa, it was much easier to talk here. Soon Tezulo got to the point and began to discuss the issue of the mining company. Your Majesty, Princess, Kajiro should have discussed the specific regulations with you before, right? After such a long time, you should have considered it almost. After thinking it over, we agree with Kajiro's proposal. We will assist you in recruiting employees in Fishman Island in the name of the Kingdom of Ryugu. They finally chose this path because the people of Fishman Island did not understand mining, nor did they know how to organize people to mine, and in order to expand cooperation, Otterheim and Neptune finally chose this method. Kajiro had discussed some details before, such as they would take the Ryugu Kingdom to explore mining sites and places where fishmen and mermen could not live, could not be on land. Although Otterheim could sense that the other party did not have the same malicious intentions as human traffickers, she could not believe everything the other party said. If so many people were abducted, the conflict between the two tribes might not be reconciled. So they chose a model close to outsourcing. The Beast Fruit Mining Department hired the Ryugu Kingdom, and the Ryugu Kingdom would recruit employees to work there, which was also to reduce the resistance of the tribe. Although a small number of mermen and fishmen chose to work in Kajiro's department store, more people were still wary of humans. It was not realistic for them to work directly in human companies now, and many things had to be done step by step. Tiger took away a large number of restless people, and the remaining people in Fishman Street just lacked an opportunity, and now the opportunity has come. The mining business was basically settled, but they had another thing they wanted to do. In addition to being the CEO of the Beast Fruit, Tezulo also worked part-time as a singer and actor in his entertainment company. He brought Stella here to make a movie. The main purpose of the movie was to promote some new products and increase Stella's exposure. It was a semi-public and semi-private matter. No matter which world, celebrities are in an industry that needs exposure. If they disappear for too long, they will soon be forgotten by the world. He hoped to get some support from the Kingdom of Dragon Palace, but the support from Otterheim, who heard the news, far exceeded their expectations. Chapter 453, Manaphy Seeking. Otterheim spent most of her time promoting her ideas. The residents of Fishman Island could still hear her speeches, but the humans on land could not. Compared with the 5 million residents of Fishman Island, the total number of humans is much larger, especially in history. The fishmen and mermaids were both regarded as fish, and discrimination between races has existed for a long time. Apart from relying on the propaganda of the world government, Otterheim could not think of any way to change this view worldwide. There are many famous fishmen, such as Tiger, Nama, etc., but those famous fishmen are all pirates. This is definitely negative propaganda in the eyes of ordinary people. Coupled with the appearance of the fishmen themselves, many people think that fishmen are born to be cruel villains. In her opinion, Tesoro's desire to make a movie is a great opportunity. The entertainment industry in the world of pirates is relatively scarce and has great limitations. Some films can still be circulated on the Red Earth continent, but the countries on the islands are different. Whether it is a publicity or other things, most people do not have this channel. Movies from 10 years ago may have just been released on some islands, not to mention those islands that do not have the conditions for broadcasting. Only when the problem of food and clothing is mostly solved and people have spare money in their hands will they have time to pursue spiritual entertainment. The world of pirates is a society where the upper class determines the lower class. The king of a country has the ability to limit what the people hear and see. If the king and nobles of a kingdom are smearing something, then the lower class will not accept it. If a movie with great influence can be made, then these people must be the first to see it. Otterheim hopes that they can see the positive propaganda about fish people and mermaids, and then make some changes. Not to mention cooperation, she is even willing to play some roles. For Otterheim's cooperation, Tesoro naturally had no objection and immediately changed the script, because he was originally a part-time screenwriter, director, male lead, investor and other roles. There are not many professional actors. After all, this is a deep sea, and it is not easy to shoot a movie here. So the acting skills of other extras may be a problem, and Tesoro's way to solve similar problems is to be real. Since it is not easy to act, just don't act. The plot of the movie is not complicated, and it is even a bit cliched, such as the male protagonist encountering a storm at sea and being rescued by a mermaid after falling into the water. At first, he was also afraid of mermaids and fishmen, but after getting along with them, he found that it was all prejudice of the world, and then they fell in love smoothly. However, the male protagonist is a prince of a country. The king does not agree with this matter, and even buys a group of pirates to kidnap the merman. But the ambition of the pirates is more than that. They also kidnapped the king, and extorted a huge ransom. In the end, the mermaid took the king away from the clutches, and then at the last moment, the male protagonist appeared and knocked down those people, and everyone lived happily together. The villain must be a pirate, otherwise the world government will not allow it to be shown. The identity of the prince is to cater to the public, which is the mainstream on the Red Earth continent today. Princes and princesses are far more popular than civilian protagonists. Whether they are royals or ordinary people, they can be brought into this environment. After all, there are a lot of operas in the film, which is also the mainstream today. And Tesoro's real acting method is reflected here. They don't need to find someone to play a pirate, but just find some pirates without a bounty to act as the pirates in the movie. He can even find someone to play a cameo role as a king. Some kings spent a lot of money to buy the flag of the beasts for their own safety. They don't mind this kind of thing. The beasts are the uncrowned kings. As for fighting, it is not a problem. Anyway, the training of the beasts is internal fighting. It can be used as a real combat exercise at that time. However, those who get to the end can only act, otherwise it will be troublesome to get injured. Among them, mermaids and fishmen appear when the male protagonist lives in Fishman Island, reflecting the beautiful side of this place. This is enough for Otterheim, but Tesoro made a request that he wants mermaids with white skin and good looks. The product he is promoting this time is whitening products. It will be really difficult to sell a black mermaid. The preparation of the film takes time, and Kaido has obtained the location of some minerals during the investigation. In order to further determine the environment there, Otterheim and Neptune decided to follow them to see where the mineral is, and also take a look at the machine that Tesoro mentioned to assist mining. In order to express his closeness, Neptune's whale mount, Hoi, with a bubble on his head, took them to the location marked on the sea chart. As they gradually left Eve's coverage, the surrounding environment began to become dark. Mermaids could still see things in this environment, but humans could not. Tesoro and the others could no longer see things nearby. Even fishmen don't like to live in such a dim environment for a long time. Otterheim and Neptune are not black-hearted capitalists. Just when they were about to ask if there was a solution, Manaphy took action. He waved his hands, and the surrounding sea water seemed to feel something, and suddenly emitted a light golden light. The influence of the light was still expanding, and soon this quiet deep sea became like daylight. The Prince of the Sea was not joking. This was also his control over marine life. It was a deep sea microorganism that had the ability to emit light. At this time, under the influence of Manaphy, they gathered together in large numbers and used their own abilities to illuminate this deep sea, and part of the energy released by Manaphy became their nutrients. However, looking at the deep sea that suddenly lit up, Otterheim and Neptune's hearts trembled. No, don't make it so bright. Many creatures are phototropic. The sudden bright light in the deep sea is likely to attract sea kings. Fishman Island is not afraid of this, because every once in a while, a mermaid princess who is chosen as the Sea King will be born. Due to the existence of the Sea King, the Sea Kings will not attack Fishman Island, but it is not necessarily the case outside. This is also the reason why they want to investigate the environment. They are worried that there is a Sea King's nest nearby. If they encounter a large Sea King in the deep sea, even fishmen and mermaids can only choose to run for their lives. But it was too late. A big eye suddenly appeared in Otterheim's vision. There was a super large Sea King below them. The size of the whale Huoi became very small compared to that Sea King. Don't be afraid, don't move, and don't shout. I'll try to communicate with it. Mermaids can communicate with fish, but Sea Kings are not within this range. Otterheim wants to use her own observation haki to communicate with them. The accompanying guards did not move. They all knew that running away was useless when facing such a monster. Otterheim was worried that Tesoro and the others might do something to irritate the Sea King, but she soon noticed that the two men were not afraid at all, and that the Sea King was also abnormal, as if it was communicating with some creature. Good boy, we didn't mean to disturb you. You can continue to sleep. Looking at the Manaphy on Stella's shoulder, Otterheim showed an incredible look. In the eyes of ordinary people, Sea Kings are monsters that cannot communicate, but Otterheim knows very well that they just disdain to communicate, because communicating with them is the privilege of Sea Kings. Chapter 454, Jack on his way home, Charlie staying with us. Under Manaphy's persuasion, the Sea King swam away like a good kid. Neptune and Otterheim looked dazed watching it go away, and the Sea King army following behind even dropped their jaws. King Neptune, Princess Otterheim, Tesoro waved his hand for a long time before they came back to their senses. Everyone would be afraid of encountering a sea monster in the deep sea. Tesoro and Stella were not afraid because they had seen Manaphy's ability on the way here. The big ones can be persuaded to leave, and the small ones are even more obedient than pets. He is. My name is Manaphy. The master sent me to ensure the safety of the waters, so don't worry about the Sea Kings. They won't make trouble. Otterheim's mind was so confused for the first time. Although Manaphy said that she was just communicating, there was no big difference between that kind of communication and control. That was a super large Sea King, and communicating with it was the privilege of the Sea King. The Sea King can only be born in mermaid princesses. It is the power inherited in the bloodline. What happened at this moment has exceeded Otterheim's understanding. Moreover, she could not sense any emotion from Manaphy. This inconspicuous little guy had a blank mind, and there was also the mysterious master he mentioned. Princess Otterheim, that's why I said before that we have prepared many things. Don't worry at all. All we need is some labor from the fishmen. This is the first step of the plan. After establishing sufficient trust in Fishman Island, they will prepare a deep sea exploration team to search for what they need in the underwater ruins. With Manaphy's escort, the biggest crisis in the sea has been solved. Soon they came to the scheduled mine. The business has just begun. Their goal must be the mines near Fishman Island. Working at home can make people feel more at ease. Here, Otterheim also saw the special mining method mentioned by Tesoro. It was the frog-shaped creatures that had been following them, that is, the giant swampers. Tesoro gestured to them with the blueprint for a while, and they found their target. This is a semi-open air mine in the deep sea. As long as the surface mud is cleared, the exposed mines can be seen. Swampert arm was like a hammer drill, smashing the rock layer directly in front of him. The remaining work was not complicated for the fishman. After a preliminary review, Otterheim and Neptune did not see any drawbacks. The rest was to recruit employees. Otterheim used her own reputation as a guarantee, and quickly found some fishermen who were motivated and willing to change the status quo with work. They were also residents of Fishman Street. Although they did not have a fixed job, they were not like those who defected to Tiger and were willing to fight on the sea. Most people hope to live a stable life. In the past, they lived a semi-lying life because there was really no place to struggle. There are no rigid necessities that they need to buy in Fishman Island. Eating and drinking can be solved in the sea. Even if they are pursuing their other half, they can find beautiful shells and pearls in the sea by themselves. Although there are also high consumption shopping streets in Fishman Island, the products there can find substitutes, and the emergence of Kajiro department store indirectly changed this situation. The novel goods from the mainland and Sky Island stimulated the economy of Fishman Island, and many specialties have no substitutes. If you want to buy those things, you need money. They are the type of people who are more stable, so suitable jobs become very important. Kajiro's department store even indirectly promoted the employment problem of Fishman Island. Now that Kajiro is going back to Wano country, some people are reluctant to let him go. The final result is that there are many more people in his address book. Before leaving, Kajiro went to Mandafesh's house again. Jack's training is almost done. He has taught everything that should be taught. The rest is to practice slowly. There is no need for him to stay in Fishman Island, so he will return to Wano country with Kajiro. Now he is purchasing local souvenirs from Fishman Island and plans to take them back to distribute. However, at least half of the things in the backpack behind him are prepared for Peggy 1. Mandafish, I'm going back. Got it. Be careful. Thank you for what you did before. It's nothing. After all, we are colleagues. I'm afraid Jack won't be able to come back for a while. Don't you need to bring something back? Kajiro knows more people in Wano country, and Mandafish thinks he should also need the souvenirs from Fishman Island. I've prepared them a long time ago. By the way, these are for you. Kajiro handed Mandafish a bag with some gold coins in it. That was the surplus of the department store's funds during this period. After deducting the fees for handing over to the beasts and purchasing goods, the remaining funds were in his hands. What are you doing? You are short of money now. Take it first for emergency. I'm afraid you've spent a lot during this period. Dating is a very expensive process. Although Rusalka didn't ask for anything, Mandafish's expenses were not small at all. Mandafish is also a senior executive who has a small share of the beast fruit, but it is not yet time for dividends. In addition, the biggest source of funds for pirates is the share of spoils, but the pirates outside have been dealt with by Hancock, which has caused him to be a little tight on money recently. Thank you, I'll pay you back later. It's okay, I have much more funds than you. Kajiro knows that money alone is useless. His father is an example. If you only have money, you are a fat sheep in this world, so he has always maintained a relationship with the executives. As long as the beasts do not fall, he can make a comeback, even if he goes bankrupt. Not long after Kajiro left, Rusalka returned here with another mermaid who looked 13 or 14 years old. That was not her daughter or sister, but Arlong's sister, Xia Li. She and Arlong have the same father but mother, but she was abandoned by her father in Fishman Street when she was 3 years old. During that time, it was indeed Arlong who raised her, but she didn't look like Arlong at all. Their father was very irresponsible, both to Aaron and Xia Li. Now Aaron took all his men to follow Tiger, leaving only Xia Li. When Mandafish found her, she was relying on fortune telling for others to make a living. Although she was still young, she was already a famous fortune teller in Fishman Island. But her business was not very good. Although the accuracy of fortune telling was very high, and she had not failed yet, she had predicted too many tragedies. People would not ask her for fortune telling unless there was a special situation. He and Aaron had some friendship in the past, and this sister was different from him, so he helped take care of Xia Li to the best of his ability. Fishman Street was not suitable for young female mermaids to live alone. Chapter 455 Where is Bailey? Many years ago, Fishman Street was not called Fishman Street. It was the national orphanage where the orphans of Fishman Island lived. But after it got out of control, most of the mermaids left there because the scum of Fishman Island gathered there. The same is true for the fishermen who sell their own kind. Although the price of fishermen in the slave market is higher than that of humans, it is a world of difference compared to mermaids. In the eyes of humans, Arlong is not a good person, and even Evelyn. Racism has a serious impact on him. He was slightly shaken by Tiger's influence, but Tiger's death made all this come to nothing. Tiger is the belief of many fishermen, especially Arlong who grew up in Fishman Street. Although Jinbei is equally powerful, he can only suppress Arlong by force, but he can't make him convinced. But Arlong has no problem with his own kind. He is very greedy for money, and has never sold his own people. The relationship between the two siblings is not very harmonious, because Arlong and Shirley originally have different concepts, but it is undeniable that when Shirley was abandoned in Fishman Street, she did rely on Arlong. Except for Tiger and Jinbei, the rest of the people in Fishman Street basically listen to Arlong. Fishman Street is an illegal place in Fishman Island. If something happens in such a place, it is far less efficient to find the official than to find the biggest local leader. If they attack Shirley, Arlong can find them quickly. Fishu, we are back. Well, I have something to go out for. Why don't you come with me? 1507 is a very special year for Manfish, because Rusalka celebrated her 30th birthday not long ago. The 30th birthday of female mermaids is also known as the Tail Splitting Festival. On this day, they will have the ability to split their tails. The split tail of mermaid is not like magic, where the tail directly turns into legs after a flash, but a gap is split in the middle, and the legs are not much different, and the position of the feet is still similar to the tail fin. But by then, mermaids can step onto land under the cover of skirts and shoes. And Mandafesh's matter is related to the new base he planned. Because he was short of money recently, Kajiro borrowed a lot of money from him before leaving. But he is a veteran of the Beast's Pirates, and the first ordinary member of the Beast's Pirates, to accept the power given by Arceus. In fact, his family background is extremely rich, and he is different from other pirates. He always thinks about retiring smoothly, so he has savings, but now it has been exhausted. The main reason is that he invested in an island. Originally, the bridgehead of the beasts in the New World is still mainly for military purposes, but there is not only one island there. In addition to the main island, there are other small islands scattered around. In the past, those islands served as shooting ranges, warehouses and the like. In order to live a better life, he transformed the largest one nearby. Others bought new houses, but he directly bought islands. Moreover, he transformed the uninhabited island into a residential area suitable for amphibious living. With this large investment, his savings were naturally consumed, and even the coffin book was thrown in. He had a second choice. According to Otterheim's thinking, if he told the other party that the purpose of this island was to live with mermaids, the kingdom of Ryugu would never mind investing, but he didn't. The definition of that place was his private residence. If others invested in it, the nature would change. The infrastructure capacity of this world is still very strong. Now that island has been renovated, the water and electricity facilities are basically complete, and you can move in at any time. The Genesex have arrived at the designated location, and one of them was arranged on the island, where he was stationed. He had to go back and make arrangements. It was only 2 days sailing from there to Fishman Island. If he went all out, he could go back in half a day. As for why he took Rusalka back with him, in his opinion, although the island, where he was stationed had certain risks, it was definitely much safer than Fishman Island. But Xia Li, it's okay, just go together. I'm worried about you staying here. Although it's land, it's also my territory. No one dares to cause trouble there. The initial limelight of the Sea Emperor has passed. Many people on the sea today have understood a truth. The pirate who can be called the Sea Emperor is not a stepping stone for them, but a mountain that cannot be crossed. Therefore, there are fewer and fewer accidents in the Emperor's territories. Especially the lone hero made them understand that, if they really offended the big pirates, they would be retaliated afterward. Brother Manfish, your trip this time may not be so smooth. Although it was not very appropriate, Xylee looked at the scene in the crystal bowl and still talked about the topic she saw. Her divination accuracy was very high, and it was okay to take a look before going out as a reference. Not smooth. Although the result is fine, you may not be too happy. After thinking for a while, Xylee still said what she saw. It's okay, Xylee, don't pay too much attention to divination. Our purpose is not to believe in fate. If you are not satisfied with the predicted future, what you have to do is to change it, instead of waiting for it to happen like a worry. The purpose of the Beast's pirates is never to believe in the illusory fate. This is one of the concepts followed by Kaido. It is impossible to make the Beasts give up some ideas through prophecy. Although Xylee's divination predictions have a high success rate, there is still a strange problem. It may be because she said this prophecy that the people who heard the prophecy wanted to change the result, which eventually led to the occurrence of the divination result. It is also possible that, because she did not say it, everything went on as planned, which led to the result. In the end, Mandafesh still took Rusoka to his new home. Even if the divination result was true, it would only make him unhappy. After the last incident, he became less and less confident in the security environment of Fishman Island. Mermaids have one convenience, that is, they do not need to wait for the ship, and can swim directly in the predetermined direction. Under the sea, Mandafesh, who turned into Gyarados, was swimming towards the target island. Rusoka kept pace with him. If it were not for the eternal pointer in Mandafesh's hand and Rusoka had not been there, she could even go ahead. The speed of the mermaid is not inferior to that of Gyarados, but in terms of endurance, he could not compare with him. After swimming for a while, he let the two of them ride on his back. As night was about to fall, Mandafesh took Rusoka and the others back to their own area, and this was the first time the two mermaids set foot on land. Chapter 456. People are different, even if they are biological children. Hello, sister-in-law. At this time, Rusoka felt the enthusiasm of the humans. Hundreds of people in uniform suits were lining up to welcome them. Mandafesh had informed them when he would arrive before, but he just asked them to prepare some new clothes. Even mermaids want to stay dry when they leave the sea, which is one of the reasons why they live on Fishman Island. Because of the Alchiman mangroves and the Suntree Eve, Fishman Island is the only relatively safe place for mermaids with sunshine and dry air. The same is true for Mandafesh. Although he has the ability to go into the water, it does not mean that he likes to be wet all the time, but his subordinates seem to have imagined his instructions. Brother, is this okay? Perelman, didn't I tell you not to make such a big noise? Don't worry, brother. You finally brought the person back, so of course I have to give you enough face. According to the customs of my hometown, if you make the boss lose face, I will cut off my fingers, and I have prepared everything you want. Perelman was born on an island in the West Sea, where gang culture is prevalent. There are more than a dozen gangs scattered on the island, and every year they fight for the position of mayor. While talking, Mandafesh had seen several female pirates bring towels and shoes, and someone pushed a wheelchair from the island hospital, which was prepared for Charlie. She is not yet 30 years old, and she can't be as good as Rusoka. And this place is beyond the scope of the bubble. Either carry her on your back or change transportation. The island's infrastructure is very comprehensive, which is prepared for people living on the island. In addition to the pirates stationed here, there are 4 or 5 villages on the main island, and there are thousands of people in total. This is the norm in the big pirate territory. The capable island should try to be self-sufficient. They protect the safety of the islands, and the residents of the islands hand over materials like paying taxes. Because the share of the confiscation is completely within their tolerance, they have long liked this kind of life, which is better than being robbed by passing pirates. But brother, you got to get out. Don't talk nonsense. That girl is the sister of Aaron. I just helped take care of her. Aaron? That shark bastard has such a cute sister? Perelman knew Aaron, but he didn't like Aaron. He was so arrogant without strength. If Mandafesh hadn't had some friendship with him when he disguised his identity, I'm afraid Perelman wouldn't know this kind of person. He is also the deputy of Kaido's Cardas, and he is also a gifter. He is also a supernova level outside. As long as he doesn't fight in the sea, he won't be afraid of fish people. Isn't this normal? Can you imagine that Miss Yamato is Kaido's biological child? Don't think about these useless things. Is everything going well on the island recently? Everything is fine, and Lord Arceus sent a big guy to Onigashima. Although it has not been used in actual combat, it is very reliable from the data. But brother Mandafesh, she is now stationed on your private island. Wait, what does she mean? That's what she meant. Oh, that is also a Pokemon created by Lord Arceus, but she seems to like the environment there more. Pearman was talking about Genesect, number GT2. Although Genesect looks like a robot, they have their own life consciousness. So when they rest, they don't charge like robots, but build nests like insect swarms. Genesect likes a warm environment with water, and the private island built by Mandafesh just meets this condition. This is also the biggest difference between Genesect and pacifists. Pacifists will obey any navy with authority, but Genesect only obeys the orders of Arceus. For example, GT2's orders were to guard the island and follow orders during battles, but she would be free to move around normally. Where is she? A swimming pool at the edge. It doesn't affect anything. That's good. The island will be safer this way. Mandafesh quickly accepted this. Living with Pokemon was nothing. Most of the beastmen were already used to it, and there were more than just 3 people on a private island, and there had to be people helping with cleaning. He had heard about the positioning of Genesect's war machine, so he thought from another angle, thinking that there was an extra long-term bodyguard on the island. Okay, let them do what they need to do. Don't waste time here. Don't worry, big brother. Everything that needs to be dealt with has been dealt with, and the water and electricity on your side have been connected. Good job. Remember to wash your face more recently. You have accumulated enough merits. I guess it's your turn for this year's God's Grace ceremony. A little excited, Pearman took away the extra people according to Mandafesh's instructions, leaving Mandafish enough private space, and then he pushed Charlie's wheelchair to the small cafeteria on the island. Although the cafeteria here is not as good as the Ghost Island, it is still enough to solve the problem of food and clothing. Humans are so enthusiastic, it seems that they are not as scary as the rumors say. Charlie in the wheelchair was a little shocked by the enthusiasm of these people. She had different ideas from Aaron to begin with, and now she felt that Aaron was wrong. Don't be so naive, little Xylee. Although they wouldn't do human trafficking without me, that's only some people. Aaron is a jerk and talks a lot, but he's not entirely wrong. Some people are very dangerous to you. You should be careful when you meet humans in other places. Humans are too different from each other. For races other than humans, it's better to meet bad people first than good people. That way they will be more vigilant. If they lose their vigilance against humans by meeting kind people first, then meeting bad people will be a real problem. Human nature is much more complicated than you think. Your Princess Otterheim's imagined life is very good, but unfortunately, that kind of naive idea can't be realized in this world. Forget it. Why talk about this thing? Let me show you something good. He took them to the second floor of the cafeteria here. From the window here, they could just see the private island he built. Under the reflection of the setting sun, a small amusement park appeared in their sight. Here, I've prepared a private amusement park for you. Now you can play as long as you want. This is what he spent all his coffin money to build. A private amusement park built to imitate the soap bubble park. Chapter 457. You're making me lose face. Most of the residents of Fishman Island, regardless of gender, age or status, have a complex about Shabaod because it is a paradise of their dreams. After leaving Fishman Island, you only need to swim upstream along the roots of the Suntree Eve, and you will eventually reach the Shabaod archipelago, which is the land where fishmen and mermaids have the most contact. From the water, they can see people playing in the soap bubble park, which is something that Fishman Island does not have, so they can't help but yearn for it. Even people like Arlong have a unique yearning for Shabaod. Arlong Park is the product of his imitation of the soap bubble park. Some fishmen or mermaids have also quietly landed on the Shabaod archipelago. Those who are lucky can return smoothly, while those who are unlucky are captured and become slaves. If you want to pursue a mermaid, taking her to the amusement park is definitely the best choice, provided that you can guarantee her safety. Otherwise don't take her to the land to harm people. Mandafesh has this confidence. As the time of evolution gets longer and longer, Mandafesh's control over the ability of Tyrannosaurus becomes stronger and stronger, and he has also changed from an unknown scout captain to a well-known senior cadre. What's more, there are 2 flags flying on the island, which are the biggest umbrella of protection for the new world. Fishu, I see you didn't have enough fun in Shampoo Land last time, but there's nothing I can do. That place is full of people of all kinds, and it's not good to stay for too long. It's fine here, you can play for a few days. Charlie pulled the hood on her head, then turned her wheelchair to the side. This time it was not divination. What she saw was telling her that it's better to stay away now. She had already smelled the sour smell of love. The sunset gradually sank into the sea. She lay by the window and looked at the disappearing sun and fell into deep thought. Compared with the sunshine brought by Eve, that feeling was very special. The next day, after debugging, the equipment of the amusement park was ready for use. Charlie, who arrived at Mandafesh's private territory, temporarily left the wheelchair. In order to facilitate the movement of the mermaids, a water park was built here, and the swimming lanes led to most areas of the island. Charlie, I told you, don't always care about your divination. Don't you see everything is fine now? Having arrived at his own territory, Mandafish felt that there would be no more accidents, so he talked to Charlie about her divination, because the divination sometimes made her feel restrained in doing things, which was very bad in Mandafish's opinion. As they were talking, something like a sponge suddenly fell on their heads. Are these marshmallows? Looking at the marshmallows of different colors falling from the sky, Charlie and Rusalka showed puzzled eyes. When they looked up, they could only see pink clouds, which were where the marshmallows came from. Marshmallow rain, the characteristic of this island. Occasionally marshmallows will fall from the sky. After all, it is in the new world, and such abnormal scenes are quite common. Compared with those strange seas where knives rain, marshmallows raining here is already a blessed place. Even if they were replaced with hard candies such as lollipops, it would be enough to make people suffer. The pirates living in the new world have become accustomed to the strange weather that goes against common sense in the new world, but the mermaids are different. Everything on land is a new experience for them, and Mandafish is also doing his job as a tour guide. This island used to belong to the Big Mob pirates, but later it was traded to us. They are big pirates as famous as Kaido, and are also the strongest female pirates in the world, but they are not as good as Kaido. In the new world, as long as we hang our flag, other pirates will have to take a detour. Even the navy will not easily fight with us. You can enjoy the land. Boom. As soon as Mandafish finished speaking, an explosion sounded nearby. At this time, he felt a little painful on his face. After all, no one dared to cause trouble here. Just after he said it, looking at the crystal ball in Charlie's hand, Mandafish was a little embarrassed. Ahem. It's an accident. It's an accident. Rusalka, you guys go back to the villa over there and wait for a while. Give me 30 minutes. I'll be back as soon as I finish dealing with things over there. Mandafish sent Rusalka and the others back to the room with a little embarrassment, and just as he closed the door, his face changed completely. That was not their artillery. Because of the different processing technology, the shells of the beast's pirates were slightly different from those of the outside world, and as a veteran, he could tell at once. Then he turned directly into a Gyarados and flew towards the direction where the explosion came from, but Mandafish didn't notice that at the same time he was moving. Genesect, who had settled on his private island, also flashed a red light in his eyes. Perelman, give me an explanation. What the hell are these guys? Brother Mandafish, I can't do anything about those pirates' brains. In response to this, Perelman spread his hands helplessly. This was an uncontrollable factor. The reason why he has been very quiet recently is that Hancock did a big cleanup for the 7 warlords in the first half of the sea. The Sea Emperor has indeed established his reputation, and the days of encountering challengers every other day are over, but the pirates in the first half of the sea don't think so. Now the window period of cleanup has passed, and the new wave of pirates has also arrived at the beginning and end of their dreams. Why did you come at this time? Saturation bombing. Send those guys to feed the fish. In normal times, he might have looked at what kind of pirates the other party was, and whether they were worth recruiting, but now there is no need. He was in a very bad mood, and didn't want to see them at all. The nearby sea area had been marked long ago. After a simple calculation, the coastal defense artillery on the island began to adjust the firing range. Unlike Mandafesh's dissatisfaction, the pirates under his command were even a little happy about it. If there were no pirates who came to make trouble, they would have no military exploits. As the artillery began to calibrate, the high-quality munitions produced in Wano country began to show their power. The other party had no chance to fight back and was paralyzed on the sea under the intensive bombing. People nowadays are getting worse and worse. They dare to provoke us, even though they can't even withstand these 2 blows? Looking at the pirates who couldn't even withstand the first round of artillery fire, Mandafish's voice was a little helpless. If it were a few years ago, those who dared to do so would definitely have to fight a boarding battle. Simply using artillery fire would not be enough to deal with such an enemy. The number of survivors is 1, and there are still signs of life on the ship. A female voice with a slightly mechanical sound came from behind Mandafish, and the Genesect GT2 had appeared behind him. The target has been locked. Do you need to attack? The light cannon behind the Genesect has been charged, and it is now seeking Mandafish's instructions. Chapter 458 Genesect's girlish heart. In battle, she obeyed the reasonable orders of the local pirates. This was also the order that Genesect received, so she did not attack immediately. Arceus orders meant obedience to the first generation of Pokemon he created. As long as he was not crazy enough to want to destroy the world, Pokemon would be his most capable assistants, no matter what he did. Just attack, you time waster. Attack ready. Genesect's compound eyes flashed red. Their compound eyes combined the ability of heat detection, combined with the light cannon behind them, like a radar lock, and then the slots on the cannon behind them began to change color. She was choosing the appropriate attribute to attack. In the pirate ship on the sea, the leading pirate flew up from the sinking ship. He had a pair of white wings behind him. His body became much stronger, and his hands and feet became like hooves. Animal type mythical beast horse fruit Pegasus form, a very rare mythical beast. The ability to fly is relatively rare on the sea. With the wings and animal type body bonus, he was also a bit famous in the first half of the Grand Line. The reason why he fired the cannon was very simple. In order to plunder, based on past experience, he would use the cannon to scare the opponent first. If he was weak, he would plunder. Many people would obediently hand over their money to save their lives. If he was strong, he would turn around and run. The power of his ship was pretty good, and usually no one could catch up with him. This behavior did not cause him much trouble, but today, for some reason, the opponent used crushing artillery fire to block all his retreat routes without explanation. Even if he thought with his heels, he knew that he had really kicked on a steel plate. He wanted to escape after surviving the artillery fire, but as soon as he flew up, a beam of light came from a distance. The huge pain almost made him faint, and the strong paralysis made his body stiff at that moment. As a bug type card, Genesect's attack is very powerful. Except for some supernovas, pirates who are not domineering have little power to fight back against Genesect. Many supernovas of the worst generation couldn't do anything to the pacifist. Although there are many opponents in the new world, Genesect is just as useful as the pacifist to deal with small fish. Not to mention that Genesect can switch attack attributes according to the situation. Unless it is a PX0 transformed from the bear's body, ordinary pacifism is really not as good as Genesect. Genesect's attack is just the beginning. Looking at the seawater below, the pirate struggled hard. Falling into the seawater would mean a slow death for him. However, his body stopped in midair. Mandafish was hovering in the air, and his scale-covered claws grabbed his ankle and lifted him upside down. An animal type? What a pity, you disturbed my mood. Pirates don't treat prisoners well. Unless they are specific targets, how to deal with them depends on the mood of the carders, and Mandafish is in a bad mood now. He didn't give him a chance to explain, and plunged into the water. Although Mandafish has the ability to fly after evolution, when facing enemies, underwater is his home ground. Non-powered Pokemon cannot stay underwater for a long time, and powered Pokemon will lose physical strength. But he won't. He can maximize his advantages underwater, which is also a powerful talent unique to water-type Pokemon. Powered Pokemon. The result of the battle is no suspense. If he can't beat other powered Pokemon underwater, and the powered Pokemon was hit by Genesect's shot, the number on his shoulder should be erased. Then a long horn sounded on the island, which was a signal that the crisis was over. The residents of the island heard the sound and came out of the basement of the room. They were used to this kind of thing, but this time the speed was faster than before. As for the beginning, there was no need for an alarm. When the sound of fighting came from the outside world, they knew what to do. This is almost necessary common sense in the new world. Although there are risks, they still have the opportunity to take refuge. The residents of the lawless island who have no shelter don't even have this opportunity. The residents of the new world are not interested in who made the law. As long as the regulations do not endanger their survival and allow them to live safely, they will support the ruler. Therefore, the Sea Emperor often has a good reputation in his own territory. After the battle, the people on the island returned to their normal lives. The salvage team went to the place where the other ship sank to salvage supplies to see if there were any valuables on the other ship. This is also a supplement to the consumption of ammunition. Manfesh only realized a problem. Pearman only told him that Genesect chose his private island to build a nest, but did not say where the nest was. So this time he followed Genesect's location, but he felt more and more wrong as he walked. He was the designer of this water park that Totozoro found from the Red Earth continent. According to the characteristics of the island, he designed many landscapes in different areas, including a wetland park landscape. And now, the central building of that landscape area has been occupied by Genesect. What do you want? I came to see where you live. I think this wetland is great. The master said that we can choose where to build our nests. I like that building. Is that not okay? Because it was a private park built for Usaka, it was more in line with female aesthetics. Genesect, who was assigned here, happened to be a woman. In addition, with Arceus' promise, she chose this place on her own. Yes, of course, but sometimes there may be people living in the house over there. Can you please pay more attention to them? My mission is to guard the island, including all the residents on the island. That's good. By the way, do you have any special requirements for food? The fish living in the water here are ornamental fish. It's better not to attack them. I'll have someone arrange food for you. In the end, Manfesh and Genesect reached a series of friendly agreements. Although there was another Pokemon in the private territory, it was not bad overall. In the following time, Manfesh played with his wife and someone else's sister in a private amusement park. Totozoro and his wife filmed a movie on Fishman Island. Jack returned to Onigashima with souvenirs, and there were some new patients at the Pokemon Center. Why is there another one? Didn't we tell them to wear insulating gloves when collecting wool? How many people have been paralyzed by electric shock? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 459, Wool from the Melly Sheep, who would refuse a wool sweater that does not generate electricity? At the Tridge counter of the Pokemon Center, they knew what had happened when they saw the patients being sent in. Their bodies were stiff, their hair was curly, and static electricity flashed on their bodies from time to time. They were paralyzed. How many is this? Is this the 15th this month? Don't they have employee rules? The nurses in the hospital complained about the patients. At first, they were worried about their physical condition, but as more and more patients came, the doctors and nurses got used to it. They were not nervous when faced with injuries that were not life-threatening and had perfect treatment measures. They had also seen children with light bulbs in their mouths, and some of the less trained ones even laughed out loud. This was actually a good thing. It was much better for a doctor to joke than to look embarrassed or serious. This was obviously the result of the workers violating the safety rules. Where's the cherry fruit? This time the symptoms are very mild. One is enough. Lucky hearing this, Jigglypuff had already taken out a small cherry-like fruit from the first aid kit. These medical staff had already included the tree fruit in their regular medicines. When they moved here, they were no different from signing a contract to sell themselves. The scope of activities will be limited to the territory of the beasts, but no one cares about this kind of thing. Ordinary people will never go out to sea if they have nothing to do. Even the Navy cannot guarantee absolute safety on the sea. They are not celestial dragons and are qualified to enjoy superstandard escort forces. In fact, that kind of escort force is not 100% effective. Rox has proved this to the world, but the celestial dragons who call themselves gods don't care about this kind of thing, and most people dare not take action against them because of the consequences. Most ordinary people live on an island all their lives and have never even left their village. The country of Wano has 4 distinct seasons, which is a very rare climate in the Grand Line. In addition, the 6 townships in the country have different customs and habits. They live happily here, so the internal items of the beasts are gradually distributed to them. The cherry fruit was crushed into a puree in a container and then poured into the patient's mouth along with the juice. It will take some time for the fruit to take effect, but the person who was originally paralyzed by the electric shock suddenly widened his eyes. Spicy. Very spicy. Water. Give me water. After he regained control of his body, he began to look for water. Although the paralysis of his body was lifted, his tongue was still burning, and his lips were slightly swollen. You've learned your lesson now. See if you dare not wear gloves next time. The nurse handed him a glass of ice water, which slightly alleviated the effect of the cherry fruit. The cherry fruit is also known as the spicy cherry fruit. Although it looks like a cherry, its taste is only spicy. For some Pokemon, this spicy taste is very comfortable, but for humans, it is too stimulating. Although it has an excellent effect on relieving paralysis and treating electric shock injuries, the taste is not so acceptable. In fact, the Pokemon Center has a neutralized version of the drug, which is an anti-anesthesia drug made from cherry fruit as raw materials, but the price is more expensive. In order to make them remember, and considering the cost effectiveness, the nurse brought the cherry fruit directly. On the vast plains of Heim, the white fluffy, wind fairy, and shuttlecock cotton still live here, but the ecology here has become more perfect. The sheep walked through the grassland, and the bleating sound was heard from time to time. The sheep are different from ordinary sheep. One of the most notable features is that their skin color is blue. Wano country already has cow and pig Pokemon, and now they fill the vacancy of sheep Pokemon. Woolly Pokemon male sheep in addition to dark blue skin, they also have light yellow fluffy wool, yellow and black ears and tails, and a special structure like a light bulb at the end of the tail. This is the wool picking season in Wano country. Unlike ordinary sheep, the wool of male sheep is only picked for 3 months in summer every year. In ordinary months, the wool of male sheep is no different from that of ordinary sheep, but in summer, special changes will occur. In summer, the wool of the merry sheep will continue to grow, and when it grows to a certain length, it will fall off. However, it only takes a week for it to become fluffy again. The wool can be collected about 3 to 4 times a month. During the process of shedding, some wool will stick to the body, and people need to manually pull the wool off, which is also a process with certain risks. In this respect, the merry sheep is very similar to the fur tribe. It can store static electricity by rubbing its hair. After the body accumulates static electricity, the hair will expand to twice the usual size. At this time, the wool is the most comfortable, but also the most dangerous. If you think it is cute and violate the work process and touch its wool directly with your hands, you are likely to fall into a state of paralysis due to electric shock. Those injured wool workers are, because they can't resist the temptation. Since touching the merry sheep is not 100% likely to cause injury, there are always people who can't help but want to try it. The appearance of merry sheep is naturally for their wool. After picking wool in summer, it is woven and sold in autumn and winter. Because the textile industry department under the jurisdiction of Beishao Fruit has already occupied a place in the cotton and linen industry, it is expanding its business at this time. Wool products are inevitably prone to static electricity, and merry sheep also have a characteristic. If they are not treated, their wool is extremely easy to stimulate static electricity. Except for masochists, no one can stand that kind of clothes. But after special treatment, their wool can be made into wool sweaters that never generate static electricity. Relying on this characteristic, wool products are also rapidly occupying the market. Here, sheep, don't crowd. It will rain for a while. Several shepherds took merry sheep to the open space in Zimri. At this time, the sky in Zimui was dark, and it was obvious that it was going to rain. The wind fairy had already hidden back in the dormitory, and Shuttlecock Cotton and White Fluffy also began to look for a place to shelter from the rain. But Melly Sheep are different. They want to find lightning. Literally, it means to be struck by lightning. When charged, the wool of the mare sheep will become fluffy and shiny, and it will also help their growth. This is also a common feature of electrical Pokemon. Lightning is also one of their foods. Even Zeraora will charge daily. In fact, they have something in common, in that their fur absorbs electricity. However, Zeraora has given up its power generating organs, and gained stronger control over lightning. In thunderstorms, mare sheep will inevitably appear in groups. In a nutshell, they will gather together to be struck by lightning. Chapter 460, Electric Dragon Lighthouse and Strange Employees. When they gather together, they are like a large lightning rod, attracting lightning in nature. The wool produced by the Melly sheep that has not been baptized by lightning will be of slightly lower quality. If there is no thunderstorm, then you have to trouble the electric shock monster. In order to prevent fire, the place where the Melly sheep was struck by lightning is on the slightly barren hills at the junction of Zimui and Giuli. In the past, the mountain god wild boar often appeared here, but after becoming the King Yanwu, it moved away. Now I live with Zyaoka in Kajiro's back house, eat and drink well every day, and occasionally be transported out to participate in some large-scale battles. Life is very comfortable. Melly the Melly sheep huddled together, looking at the black clouds in the sky with full of anticipation. The people who guided the Melly sheep have already hidden behind the rocks on the side. If you touch the wool, you will be paralyzed by the electric shock at most. If you are affected by the thunderstorm brought down from the sky, their life will not be so good. So they had to stay away from the mere sheep at this time, but the flock was still under the command of others. You. The ears and tail were still yellow and black, and the same red light bulb could be seen on the tail, but except for its white belly, it was all yellow, and only some black stripes could be seen around its neck, and there was also a red light ball on its head. The body structure was very similar to that of the mere sheep, but it stood upright on its legs, and looked more like a kangaroo. The most important thing was that they had no hair on their bodies. This was the electric dragon, the final evolution of the mere sheep. In the mere sheep tribe, it was responsible for both the shepherd dog and the head sheep. The mere sheep would listen to the words of the prestigious electric dragon, which was also recognized by the tribe. If the electric dragon was too weak, even the mere sheep would look down on it. After all, the electric dragon had to take on the responsibility of protecting the tribe, and the weak could not protect the tribe. Although it looks like a kangaroo, the body of the electric dragon actually contains dragon blood. If it mega evolves into a super electric dragon, it can reawaken the dragon blood in its body, changing from a single electric attribute to an electric plus dragon attribute. The sheep of the mere sheep living in Wano country do not have any group crisis. The main thing that the electric dragon does is to guide the sheep of the mere sheep to accept the baptism of thunder and lightning and work in shifts at night. The environment outside Wano country is very dangerous, and the ships of the beasts cannot guarantee that they will only return to Wano country when the weather is clear, so the lighthouse that guides the direction is extremely important. Since the beginning of the shipping industry, the lighthouse has always been the biggest hope for ships in the dark. As long as the entrance to the submerged port can be determined, those experienced helmsmen will be sure to drive the ship back to Wano country smoothly. Therefore, every day there will be 2 electric dragons acting as lighthouses in the first half of the night and the second half of the night. After evolution, the tail of the electric dragon not only retains the ability to emit light, but also has been greatly strengthened. The most exaggerated statement is that even aliens in the universe can see the beacon of the electric dragon. Although the fact is not so terrible, the tail of the electric dragon is far more effective than the general lighthouse. Because it is too dazzling, the tails of the lightning dragons will not light up easily unless they are calling lost melee sheep or communicating signals with others, such as now. Boom. Crack. Thunder and lightning began to brew in the sky, and the lightning dragons began to direct their flocks to the designated area. Different flocks of sheep kept a certain distance from each other, and there was also interference from thunder. The lightning dragons communicated through flag language. Boom. As a thunderbolt fell, the cry of the melee sheep came along, and they felt very comfortable bathing in the lightning. This time will last for a while, and when their tails begin to light up, it will reach the limit. During this process, the lightning dragons will keep an eye on them to prevent a melee sheep from being too comfortable with the electric shock and not paying attention, even if they are fully charged. Bathing in lightning is similar to cats taking catnip for melee sheep. They can easily get addicted. In that case, they will become black-haired sheep, making their wool useless. Summer thunderstorms come and go quickly. When the thunderstorm passes, the size of the ears has obviously expanded a lot. Unlike the wind fairies, their wool is not so easy to absorb water. That is the effect of static electricity expansion. The ears, who have become bloated, are crowded together, and static electricity is generated from time to time. Next, they will forage in the grassland, and then go to the place where the wool is shed. The wool of some ears has begun to fall off. Junction? You are back so soon. At the workplace, they saw an uncle with a sausage mouth. He was the one who was sent to the Pokemon Center before. The sausage mouth was also caused by the cherry fruit. The people of Wano country have a lighter taste, which can be seen from their general banquet. However, there are also a few people who are very interested in the perverted spicy curry made by the cherry fruit. Yeah, I said it's a small problem. You are making a fuss. At this time, he was holding a lamb in his hand. It was a mea lamb cub. They were just born not long ago and there was not much static electricity on their body surface, so they did not pose much threat. Junction, you should put on your gloves. Yeah, it's still uncomfortable to be electrocuted. The people around him tried to persuade him, but it was useless. You people don't understand. I'm the first batch of workers to handle wool here. As long as you are careful and treat the sheep sincerely, it's okay even if you don't wear gloves. He put on the posture of an old senior, picked up the scissors, and was about to deal with some of the wool that the sheep had not shed. At the beginning, there was really nothing wrong. He was lucky when he dealt with the first few sheep and was not attacked by static electricity. You don't understand. Only by touching the wool with your own hands can you feel the specialness of this kind of wool. That thing will only affect the feel of the work. He began to show off his experience, but the next moment, a burst of static sound rang out, and he fell to the ground again, this time with a more gorgeous afro than before. Melee, the sheep next to him who had just shed its hair, made a helpless cry, which showed how much he liked to challenge his limits. The people around him also put him on a stretcher with a helpless look on their faces, and took him back to the Pokemon Center again. Seeing that the person who had left for less than a day was sent back again for the same reason, the nurse and the doctor looked a little unhappy. Where are his gloves? Here. Hey, you guys are not trying to make a fuss about work injury? She didn't believe that anyone liked being electrocuted, and even thought that these people were thinking of something weird, such as work injury compensation or something like that. No, 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 how could that be? He just didn't listen to advice. Chapter 461, The Three-Dimensional Sky of Beasts. The other workers quickly denied that they could not afford the charge. Although there are laws in Wano country, in this world of force, the real judgment is based on personal will. People who Kaido likes can be forgiven, even if they do something excessive, while people he dislikes may be beaten for a small matter. The end of being unreasonable is terrible. He just likes furry things, and he is a senior, so it's useless for us to talk. I don't think he is fine. Let him stay here for a while, so that he won't learn his lesson. In the end, the doctor gave up emergency treatment, and placed him aside, to prevent him from wasting medical resources. With the expansion of the fruit planting area, the reserves inside the beasts are becoming more and more abundant, but it is not used in this way. Among them, Kaido's labor force was exploited in large quantities. Different crops are suitable for different temperatures. In order to expand the planting area and reduce the input of garrison personnel, Kaido pulled back several sky islands from various sea areas, forming a three-dimensional planting structure over Wano country. In addition to the residential area of Ohara at the top, there are also sky animal husbandry areas, planting areas and training areas. Kaido found that training them in a place with thin oxygen is more effective, so he created the island cloud training ground. In addition to regular training, they will also undergo high altitude oxygen free special training. There are 4 sky islands scattered at an altitude of 2,000 meters, and the training ground is above the sky island where O'Hara lives, with an altitude of about 3,000 meters. These 5 sky islands have formed a unique landscape of the beasts. The O'Hara incident has ended for 7 years. Most people have forgotten what happened at the beginning, and they live well here. There is never a shortage of research materials. The beasts who sailed around to search for stone tablets have found many ancient documents. Those paleontologists are even more excited. Some of them even have a strong interest in Pokemon like Robin, and what they are studying now is the abnormal development of Pokemon. The evolution of Pokemon was too magical for them. They couldn't understand what it was. The evolution that was completed in an instant was too magical. When trying to use the existing knowledge to explain this unknown thing, only metamorphosis was more consistent with the situation. But it was only somewhat consistent. They didn't see many Pokemon. The melee sheep evolved into an electric dragon, the big charcoal car like a minecart, the small Geodude floating in the low sky, and the sweet bamboo that secreted sweet juice. Any Pokemon was a new sight for them. 7 years later, their activities were no longer limited to the small sky island. They were also allowed to set foot in Wano country. At this time, a tall figure slowly climbed up the edge of the vine. It was Zoro who had been staying here. His plan changed because of various things, so he still stayed here. The lifespan of the giants is generally 300 years, and this time is really nothing to him. At this time, he had a white straw hat on his back, which was the product of the village of Braiding. Braiding village is located in Giuli, and is famous for its expertise in weaving bamboo hats in Wano country. He just went down to pick up the goods. Kaido has an extraordinary tolerance for powerful combat power. As an adult giant, Kaido still looks up to his combat power. The comprehensive strength of the giants is very strong, especially since he is related to a giant country behind him. Those giant countries are all powerful countries in the world. He doesn't care about the other party's identity as a former navy. Although he has no intention of joining, he has begun to accept the life here, especially after the expansion of Sky Island and the emergence of arable land. Zoro began his life as a farmer. However, his huge body made the Millennium Dragon unable to carry him, so he could only rely on the sturdy vines that Arceus had spawned that year to climb back and forth. When he went down for the first time, he scared the people of Wano country. In terms of height, he is much taller than Kaido. There are also some scholars from Ohara on the high altitude farm. Pokemon attracts those who study animals, and these special crops of tree fruits have also aroused the interest of these botanists. In recent years, they have even found and cultivated an extinct crop, which is also one of the materials needed by Arcee. Zoro, you're back. Yes, this is what the pirates brought back. They found a historical text. Zoro took out a grey stone from the bag behind him and placed it in front of Olivia. It's a text that records events. It seems that some of the speculations of the doctor and others have to be re-examined. There are still many blanks in history. Every additional piece of text means that some things have to be re-examined, but this does not make them feel discouraged, because it means that they are one step closer to the truth of history. Olivia, I saw Robin, don't you see her every day? I mean, I saw how she got along with the children of those pirates. She looked quite happy. The people of this country are also like this. They are obviously under the rule of pirates, but they smile more than the people I met when I was on a mission before. Some navy are even worse than these pirates. There are too many stains on the word justice. Zoro's mind has long been mature. He will not directly believe what he sees. He knows that compared with the pirates who are engaged in development like the 100 Beasts, there are more pirates who plunder and kill. What he couldn't accept was that the navy and the world government were clearly capable of doing what the beasts did, but they still did some strange things. Robin should have grown up normally. With her talent, she should have become a world-renowned scholar, but now she has to live under the protection of pirates. Fortunately, they get along well with each other. This is a world. Now you should know what the history we are exploring is, right? I know. I also know why the world government chose to erase you. Although it only revealed a corner, they would never allow the world to know anything about this. But I don't understand. After so many years, they obviously have the ability to confiscate the historical texts of the world, but they didn't do it. What will happen when those historical texts are put together? I don't know. This is something we haven't studied clearly. The topic stopped there, and Zoro also took out a small shovel and fiddled with the crops on the island like potted plants. On the ghost island, as Zoro said, Robin has become accustomed to this kind of life and gets along well with others, but now some people are not so happy. Ulti is looking ahead with a vigilant look because Jack, who has been away for a year, has returned at this time. Chapter 462, Wedding Prelude, the Fur Tribe wandering in various countries. Oh, you pervert are back. Jack didn't say anything. He knew that he couldn't get rid of his perverted reputation, but outsiders couldn't understand his feelings. His upbringing made him look forward to page 1 for a long time. Jack's Frost Milk Fairy was still telling Yamato and Mariah's Frost Milk Fairy about her experiences on Fishman Island. There were also a few little fairy milk fairies next to them, belonging to Isuka, page 1 and others, in line with the principle of not worrying about the lack of wealth, but the imbalance of wealth. These children basically made up for the Frost Milk Fairy or Little Fairy Milk Fairy, and this also made some pirates of the beasts understand some truths. Children with Pokemon pets have a higher status. Only Robin and Perona are different. Their aesthetics are different from normal people. Robin raises a tearful lizard, while Perona hangs out with her own bear wearing, but sometimes it seems like the bear wearing is raising her. Ziope, the gifts prepared for you are all specialties from Fishman Island. Hey, Jack, do you like Ziope so much? You prepared so many things for him. Looking at the things Jack took out of his backpack, Yamato showed an incredible look. After all, the volume of that bag was already taller than that of Peggy 1. No, aren't they almost the same? Looking at the regular sized package in her hand and the big bag that Peggy 1 could hardly hold, Yamato's face was full of disbelief. But she could understand this kind of thing. People have preferences. Arceus gave her much more than others. Others only have 1 or 2 exclusive Pokemon at most, but Yamato has already put together a full team, and it is a Pokemon team with 2 mythical beasts, Diancie and Genesect. Shortly after she made the request, she got this unnumbered Genesect. Compared with the Genesect of the GT series, it is a little more petite, but its strength is still strong, and it can provide certain firepower support for Yamato in the future. Ziope, let me help you take it back. Peggy 1 had some difficulty carrying the big package, and Jack wanted to help him, but Ulti got there first. Go away. That's my and Ziope's room, you pervert. Don't go in. I'll help him get it. And you're not allowed to call him Ziope. Jack's return seemed to bring more laughter and joy to the young people of the beasts. As long as he and Ulti were together, the scene would never be deserted. However, Jack saw many people working on the ghost island, and they seemed to be remodeling something. What are they doing? Preparing for the wedding scene. Zerora and sister Setsuna are getting married, and the date is coming soon. Not only that, Jack even saw Arceus, who was supervising the construction on the road. You guys, put that sign a little higher. Don't you think it's asymmetrical with the one over there? Got it, Lord Arceus. We'll change it right away. Days passed day by day, and Zerora, the eldest son, was about to get married, which made him sigh. And this wedding was not just 1, but 3. There was one inside Onigashima, which was the wedding he prepared for Zerora, and there was another one in the territory of the beasts outside Onigashima. The marriage of a senior Kaido was a big happy event in the pirate group. Even if there was no reason, the pirates could hold a banquet, let alone with such a suitable reason. At the same time, there was another one on Zhao's back, which was a wedding prepared at her mother's house. It was simply impossible to pick up more than 20,000 fur tribesmen. You really care about it? Isn't it still 2 months? It's okay to prepare early. You should take it easy. Those wines are prepared for their wedding, not for you to drink casually. Don't worry, at most you can prepare it again. It won't affect them. Onigashima has already started to prepare, but Zerora and Setsuna, who are the parties involved, are not so nervous. In Kura's room, Setsuna lay carelessly on Zerora's bed. They are too familiar with each other now, so familiar that they don't need to pay attention to etiquette and other issues. Rotom, please lower the temperature. Thank you. It was August now, and the temperature in Giuli was a bit high. This kind of heat was okay for humans, but it was a torture for the fur tribe. The thick fur made the fur tribe hate this kind of hot weather. Due to the height of the elephant master, the weather in Zou was not so hot, but Rotom's smart home had solved this problem. Got it. Lotum, is 15 degrees okay? Lotum? Sure, just maintain that temperature. The air conditioner here naturally had no temperature limit, and Rotom was a Pokémon that changed its attributes according to the appliance it possessed. The cooling and air conditioning Rotom belonged to the electric plus ice type, and it could adjust the temperature to below zero if necessary. However, she was the only one in the room. As the man, Zeraora also went to check his wedding scene, and Perona ran out because she couldn't stand the low temperature. She liked dark environments, but not cold environments. Lying on the bed, Setsuna flipped through some letters from Zou, which were faxes sent through special Den Mushi. The wedding would be held 3 times, and her immediate family was naturally no exception. Dad's cigars are all gone again. Wanda misses Perona a little. Pedro, is there a bounty on his head? Zou at this time is very different from the original timeline. In Arashi and Cat VIP did not return to Zou, but went to the future, so Zou was not affected by them as Kazuka's retainers. Instead, it underwent special changes with the large amount of material assistance from Setsuna. There are also some restless element on Zou Island, such as Pedro. He is 5 years younger than Setsuna, and they are of the same generation. After she began to visit her family frequently, she also got to know this Duke's Reserve. Seeing that Setsuna brought back so many things after sailing, they also wanted to do something within their ability, such as searching for that special stone tablet. With this as the purpose, a few months ago, led by Pedro, members of the Jipo and Pacumas fur tribe went to sea and took away several moonstones. When they went to sea, the reason they went to sea was to explore, so the name of the team was also the Narcs Expedition Team, not the pirate group. In the original timeline, they were awarded by the world government for wanting to find the historical text for Cat VIP, but this time it was different. The world government took the initiative to target them. The Yan Wuking incident made the world government identify some things, but the team sent to Zou was frustrated. After having the ability to free the Moon Lion, Zou was no longer afraid of the threats of those teams. So these fur tribes who went out became their target. Although they could free the Moon Lion, they were a little overwhelmed by those attacks. In the end, Pedro made a decision. He and several people who could control the Moon Lion stayed outside, and the others returned to Zou first. However, on the way back, they encountered some accidents. Although they defeated the enemy, the expedition team also suffered casualties. Among them, Pacumas was accidentally separated in the explosion, and by chance, drifted to the Totland Sea. 5 years earlier than the normal timeline, he arrived at the territory of Big Mom. At this time, he was just 12 years old. He appeared here, and was soon discovered by the Big Mom pirates, and then brought to Charlotte Linlin. HMM. Is this the fur tribe? Do you know Zeraora? I heard he's getting married. Chapter 463 Arceus Metal. As a pirate with certain cooperation with the Beasts pirates, the Big Mom pirates also received a wedding invitation from the Beasts. Charlotte Linlin also had some ideas about Zeraora, but she didn't care about men, but children. In her opinion, men are just tools, and marrying men of different races is just to get children with the blood of this race. Under her education, the Big Mom pirates are very indifferent to the word father. No matter which of her children has much affection for their biological father, many have never even seen their father. Food can cause Charlotte Linlin to be furious, but men will not. At the beginning, she did not force Zeraora to stay, which means that she has given up. After all, she has always been hot for men for 3 minutes. It is good to be strong, but it is also okay if the strength is not enough. After all, she basically represents the ceiling of human talent. As long as she sees the right eye, it doesn't matter if she has a child. Although the number of fur tribes is rare, Zeraora is not the only one. She can even use homies to create creatures similar to fur tribes. It is also the person who fished Pacumas out of the sea, Crane Knight Randolph. He looks like a rabbit fur tribe, but in essence, he is just a homies created by Charlotte Linlin. The reason why she asked Pacumas this was just because she happened to think of it. I saw him in Zao, but are he and sister Setsuna getting married? Well, don't you know? The wedding invitations have been sent to me. You can go with the people who are attending the wedding. When Kaido attended her tea party to discuss some things, there was no title of Sea Emperor on the sea. They were just a stronger pirate group, but it is different now. The contact letter from his subordinates is okay. If Charlotte Linlin really went to Kaido's territory to participate in some activities in person, the Navy might make a bigger move. When the bulimia did not occur, Charlotte Linlin was still somewhat rational, and Katakuri and others would persuade her, but the reason for persuasion was food, such as during this period, Cake Island would hold a food selection festival. Listening to Charlotte Linlin's words, Pacumus's eyes showed a confused look. He had been away from Zal for only a few months, and so many things had happened. You should stay here for the time being. After the wedding cake is ready, you will go there with Bloea, Moscato and others. For Kaido's sake, I will not give up your lifespan during this period. Of course, it would be even better if you could join here. Lifespan is the only designated rent in the kingdom of Totland. Unless it is her children or members of other pirate groups, if you want to live here, you have to pay rent according to the time. Since Pacumus knows those two people, and those two people are members of Kaido, she will not ask Pacumus to pay for his lifespan. And she had other ideas. Although Randolph's homies looked the same as ordinary fur tribes, they were not real fur tribes after all. If Pacumus could join the Big Mom Pirates, there would be one more ace in Totland. It was not difficult to force him to stay, but that was her way of collecting rare and exotic animals. She hoped that he would take the initiative to join, so she chose this method. From the news Pacumus just revealed, he was only 12 years old this year, and the various scenes of the Totland Kingdom were most likely to attract children. Under the instruction of Charlotte Linlin, Pacumus stayed in Cake Island temporarily, and felt that it was like a fairy tale kingdom. When the date approached, the Big Mom Pirates, led by Charlotte Moscato, took Charlotte Bloea and Charlotte Melise to the address given by Kaido, a spring island in the territory of the Beast Pirates. Although she didn't ask big officials like Jiang Crossing to show up, the combination of one son and two daughters was enough to show her importance. In addition to the entourage, there was also the raw materials of a huge wedding cake. According to the chef's calculation, they could just finish making the cake when they arrived at the venue. Using food as a gift was also their specialty. Moreover, after living on Cake Island for a while, Pacumus couldn't stand the temptation of material and the bewitching of the Big Mom Pirates, and chose to join the Big Mom Pirates. He was grateful to these lifesavers. Sometimes the fur tribe was too naive. Faced with the invitation of the lifesaver to join, he did not refuse. Moreover, Setsuna also joined the Beast Pirates. It is not uncommon for the fur tribe to become pirates after going to sea. This is not surprising. However, the Big Mom Pirates were only invited to the second wedding. The island was still in preparation, but the Ghost Island had already been decorated with lights. Farron flapped his wings and landed on the Ghost Island, with Setsuna's family on his back. Although the rules of the fur tribe are not as many as those outside, and two people can just like each other, relatives still have to be present. This place is really grand. Looking at the newly decorated Ghost Island, Hatch couldn't help but sigh. He knew that the sense of ceremony outside was much more than that of Zal, but the gap here was too big. In terms of area, the furry principality is not smaller than the Ghost Island, but the architectural style is completely incomparable, especially now that the Ghost Island has undergone a major transformation. As they landed, a mechanical gear sound came from the skeleton of the Ghost Island, and then the Ghost Island building on the third floor began to rise. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have seen that there was actually a separation. At this time, the Ghost Island has become a structure similar to an open-air stadium. The things that have been decorated inside have also been revealed. The supporting structure looks very slender, but no one doubts the safety of the Ghost Island. When preparing for the wedding venue, Onigashima also underwent an upgrade and renovation. This open-air venue mode is one of the contents of the renovation, and a new material is used in it. The people of Beishao call it Arceus metal. It is a brand new building material he created with steel slabs. It has high hardness and toughness, and it is not corroded. However, there are certain disadvantages. That is, this metal is not suitable to appear around steel Pokemon. They will not be able to suppress their inner impulse to eat this metal like termites. As Onigashima completed its transformation, a huge platform rose from the middle. Quinn changed his unchanging overalls according to Arceus's request and put on slightly festive clothes. Hey, everyone, pay attention. The wedding starts tonight. Now we are conducting the final equipment test. Chapter 464 Starlight Wedding. Hutch, I'm a little jealous. Under Quinn's command, the Pirates of the Beasts pirates began to test various wedding equipment. Looking at the brilliant scene, Ling had to admit that, even though Setsuna was her own daughter, she felt jealous. Doesn't this just show that Setsuna is doing well? It seems that Zorora is also concerned about it. It's reassuring to hand Setsuna over to him, but where did Setsuna go? After Furin left them here, he didn't care. Although there were many pirates around, they were carrying all kinds of things in their hands and seemed to have no time to take care of them. But Hutch saw something familiar. Two white ghosts suddenly flew past them and motioned for them to follow. Hutch saw at a glance that it was Perona's negative ghost. This little thing had made him lose a lot of face at the beginning. However, as he grew older, Perona's control over his abilities became stronger and stronger. The negative ghost was no longer an out-of-control bomb, but a tool that could be manipulated. Following the steps of the negative ghost, they saw Perona sitting on a bear tail. As new Liwats, Setsuna and Zorora were preparing for some things, so they asked Perona to come pick them up, but she was lazy and chose to let negative ghost bring them here. Neither the Fur tribe nor Zorora had any strange and messy rules, no customs that could not be seen by people, and no traditions of avoiding relatives. Soon they saw two people sticking together. They all changed into brand new dresses, and even Yanan had some wedding candy decorations on her body, which made it very different from other frost milk fairies. Sister, we are here. Wanda pestered Setsuna to ask questions, and Hatch also chatted with Zorora. It was their first time to come to Wano country. Although they were only on Onigashima, they could see the scenery of Wano country at a glance. Whether it was the towering Fujiyama or the group of sky islands above Onigashima, these were things they had never seen before. The scenery here was not on the back of the Zhao giant elephant. However, neither Hatch nor Ling had any doubts about the general of Wano country. Although the Kazuki family and Zhao have an alliance, ordinary citizens do not have a clear memory of this alliance. It is not easy to have feelings for a country that has not seen each other for hundreds of years. Especially now that Zhao is not ruled by Narashi and Nekomamushi, he naturally has no interest in the situation in Wano country. What's more, they are here to attend the wedding. Originally, Hatch had been accustomed to the existence of Zorora, but for some reason, he looked at Zorora more and more unpleasantly today. Boy, after today, Setsuna will be completely handed over to you. Don't let her down, otherwise. Uncle, you don't seem to be able to beat me, but don't think about this kind of thing. We will live a good life. After Hatch and Ling arrived here, they did not wait here all the time, but wandered around Wano country, because the wedding time was set at night. Although there is no fixed requirement for the wedding time in the pirate world, it is relatively rare to hold a wedding at night, but because it was set by Arceus, no one objected to this. Time soon reached night, and the lights in Onigashima were ready, but several bonfires were still lit outside. Although electricity had long been popularized in Onigashima, bonfires were a unique atmosphere for banquets. After the ceremony, it was not realistic to let these pirates sit together and dine like nobles. The previous debugging had proved that there was no problem with these equipment. After nightfall, Quinn appeared on the high platform again. He presided over all the activities within the Beast Pirates. Well, everyone, those who can come here are all old members of the pirate group. Everyone knows that today is the wedding of Zorora and Setsuna. Today, the couple will tether, not under the witness of you. You all come from different seas, and you can have any customs as you like, but no one will stop you if you make them angry. Muhahaha. The customs on the sea are not uniform, and each island has its own characteristics, but no one dares to mess up the wedding of a senior Kada. There must be a limit to making fun. If you make trouble on someone else's big day, you will be beaten. What's more, Kaido and Arceus were also on the main seat. Kaido appeared there because he was the governor of the pirate group, and Arceus appeared as Aurora's elder this time. Although Aurora's external identity was the fur tribe, as the first mythical beast created by Arceus, his position as the eldest son of God was very secure. Setsuna had both parents, so Aurora naturally couldn't be empty. Let's not waste any more time, the wedding is about to begin. Lord Arceus has specially prepared a unique gift for the new lights. Quinn didn't inherit the bad habit of giving a speech for several hours, and quickly got to the point. At this time, everyone understood why the wedding had to be held at night. Today was only a new moon, and under the reflection of the lights, the moonlight in the sky was not significant, but Arceus mobilized the power of the fairy slate, and the moonlight and the stars seemed to be guided, and the light they emitted gradually condensed into human figures. The white moonlight formed dancing elves, and the starlight of different colors formed flying saucers under the control of the power of the fairy slate. Various musical instruments appeared in the hands of the elves, and the starlight butterflies danced to the sound of the music. The power of the fairy slate is second only to ghosts and superpowers in terms of strangeness, and its power is also the most beautiful power in Arceus's hands. Accompanied by the moonlight, paved by the stars, and with fragrant grass as the path, this is the wedding celebration he prepared for Aurora, a unique grand banquet in this world. The starlight in the sky can be seen even in Wano country, and many people fell into a stagnation when looking at the strange beauty. Especially the female members of the beast pirates. The pursuit of beauty is human nature. Except for Arceus, there are few people in the world who can do this. Even if they are not the protagonists, they can't help but be intoxicated by it. Even if some illusion-type devil fruits can simulate similar scenes, they can't compare with this real dance of light. Along with the music, the star disk turned upwards, and the sky above the ghost island formed the portraits of Aurora and Setsuna. At the same time, the green stone slabs began to give birth to special plants, and the path formed by the flowers extended to both sides, and finally appeared at the feet of Setsuna and Aurora. Oh. The cheers in the venue were deafening, and the couple walked towards the center of the venue. I'm stuck. It's painful for single dogs to write weddings. Chapter 465. Wedding Finale. Bang, bang, bang. This is not the sound of gunfire. Nowadays, no one has the ability to invade Onigashima without anyone noticing. Even if it is true, if this person can see the sun tomorrow, it will be the dereliction of duty of all the beasts. This is the sound of colorful flower bombs. The colorful streamers drifted down with the wind, accompanied by the starlight butterflies flying in the air, forming a new scene. Quinn even replaced the flamethrower in the mechanical hand. At this time, as the wedding master of ceremonies, his arm was also shooting out ribbons. Although Arceus built a unique wedding hall for Aurora, he did not show up directly. The same is true for Kaido, who just sat in the back and drank a lot of wine. If they go out, it will inevitably be a bit of a distraction. The protagonists of the wedding are Setsuna and Aurora. There is no need for them to go out to attract attention. Go quickly, brothers Aurora, the bride is waiting for you. Yes, don't make her wait. From time to time, the spectators around came to urge. No one made malicious trouble, but they would never mind adding some atmosphere to the wedding. Sister, you look so beautiful today. Behind Setsuna walked Arona and Wanda, who were dragging her wedding dress behind her. They just happened to be the flower girls. Occasionally, there was the sound of shutters below. Those were the Rottams flying in the air, recording the details of the wedding for them to remember in the future. The path formed by the flowers was not far, but it was the longest path that Aurora had ever walked. It would not take long for him to go around Onigashima after being given the name of Lightning, but now his steps were a little heavy. This made him feel more stressed than fighting with the Navy. There were urging voices around him from time to time. If it weren't for the hair covering his face, he might have suddenly turned into a red cat. Every time he and Setsuna took a step forward, the flowers behind them would float in the air. As they walked together, the flower path behind them disappeared, and the petals scattered in the air formed a huge peach heart. The starlight butterflies in the sky shattered one after another, and diamond star-like powder flew down, covering them under the waterfall of starlight. It was not Quinn who came up next, but Misu. She was the only proper religious person in the Beast's Pirates. Although it was more appropriate for a priest to do this, a nun could also take on this responsibility. In her hand, there was an extra white covered booklet with a pattern of 2000 universe arms crossed in it. Of course, they did not believe in God here. Even the Western style wedding believed in the Arceus religion. The participants in the wedding were not all pirates. There were also some people from Wano country, such as Musashi and Kojiro. The couple of Hyogoro were also invited here, but the people of the Kazuki family were not qualified. The beasts treated them as a general, and they were generals. There was no need to invite a puppet general at this time. It would not be appropriate to put her in any position. That's great little soldier. Looking at these young people, I feel like I'm 20 years younger. Not enough. It would take at least 30 years. We were just married then. Recalling the experience of the past, Hyogoro also showed a happy look. The wedding here was a scene they had never seen before. It was very different from the traditional wedding in Wano country. In fact, the wedding had considered the Wano country style, but it was later rejected because they felt that the style was not appropriate. The Ohara scholars of Sky Island, doctors from all over the world, the core employees of the beast fruit, and people from all walks of life were witnessing the final moment. Zorora, swear in the name of Lord Arceus. Are you willing to marry Setsuna as your wife? Are you willing to abide by the marriage vows in the future, whether you are poor or rich, sick or healthy, beautiful or fading, smooth or frustrated? You are willing to love her, comfort her, respect her, and protect her? And are you willing to be loyal to her forever in your life? I do. Setsuna, swear in the name of Lord Arceus. Are you willing to marry Zorora and make him your husband? Live with him in a sacred marriage contract, whether you are sick or healthy, poor or rich, beautiful or fading, smooth or frustrated. You are willing to love him, comfort him, respect him, and protect him. And are you willing to be loyal to him forever in your life? I do. The two answered without hesitation, and their long-term relationship of several years came to an end. After they gave the answer, no one handed over a ring. Both the elves made of moonlight and the scattered starlight began to gather towards one point, and finally a pair of rings appeared in front of them. Now you can exchange rings, and of course, you can also kiss the bride. A kiss under the moon means the end of the wedding, and it also means the beginning of the banquet. Amid the unstoppable booing of the people below, Quinn took the microphone again. Okay, guys, the bride and groom are going to do their thing. Next is your carnival. The banquet has begun. Wine, barbecue, just get whatever you want. Oh. As the protagonists of the wedding left, the pirates also ushered in their own carnival. The toasting session of the bride and groom had been cancelled. They just had a small gathering with their close friends, and Kaido became the drinking blocker. He was drinking with his men wantonly. Quinn showed off his dancing skills with a few of his brothers, but not many people paid attention to him. Jin ate his food in a slightly elegant way, and at the same time he had to face Shaina's complaints. I say Jin, you don't have to eat like this, right? Shaina's mask only covered most of her face, and her mouth was still exposed, so eating was not that troublesome. Although Jin's mask did not hinder eating, his way of eating was very strange. He did not use his hands, but beastified his head, and ate the food on the plate with the slender mouth of the fossil pterosaur, which looked very distorted. I'm used to it. Sometimes it's good this way. Etiquette, don't throw all this stuff away. At the same time, the children's table at the wedding banquet also began its own noisy day. Ziope, what are you looking at? Look at the stars, they are so beautiful. Me too, don't you want to? I won't let another woman take you away, even less so a man. At this point she glanced at Jack, and then emphasized the following lines, but Ulti also admitted that the scene was indeed beautiful. There were a lot of little girls at this table, and many people were interested in this, even if some individuals had different aesthetic tastes from ordinary people. However, Yamato did not show any envy, because she was thinking about whether to ask Arceus to show her a similar scene again. 3 updates today. PS. Rumor has it, the Great Silence spell may be postponed. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 466. Loser and Peeper. The wedding at the main venue has ended. The pirates are enjoying their own carnival feast. At the same time, many people are attracted by the wedding scene and have some impulses in their hearts. According to a later survey report, this year is the year with the highest marriage rate within the Beast's pirates. Influenced by Setsuna and Zorora, many people took this opportunity to choose to confess. Such a mysterious scene is difficult to reproduce. I don't know how many people will never see a similar scene again in their lives. Of course, there are also many sad people on this occasion. Confession is not a charge, but a flag of the end. Holding an impulse to confess will not succeed. Today is destined to be a sad day for many single dogs. The group of pirates has always been more men than women, and women who can become pirates usually have stronger talents. Especially in the competitive environment within the beasts, they can appear on Ghost Island as elites. Their own strength is slightly stronger, and it is naturally difficult to pursue them. For example, a pirate has just encountered a setback in his life. Don't be ridiculous. You're too ugly. You're not my type. Drake sat carelessly on the stool. The wine dripping from the corners of his mouth wet his clothes. He was completely disdainful of the person in front of him. Too ugly? Accept the reality. This is something you can't change. Patting him on the shoulder, Drake walked towards Jin and Shaina with the wine jar. It looked quieter there, and no one around the Carters did such presumptuous behavior. She left indifferently, leaving only a frustrated pirate. However, this situation did not last long. Soon he was dragged away by other single pirates and joined their army of singles. Kaido was drinking with others, and the number of people around him was decreasing rapidly at a visible speed. Not being able to drink more than Kaido was only part of the reason. The more important thing was that they felt that Kaido was a little drunk. Although it was still a wedding scene, they didn't dare to bet on whether Kaido would get drunk. If he was unlucky, he would have to lie in the Pokemon Center for several months at least. If it was more serious, he would be buried directly. Only some of the strong or courageous ones dared to continue drinking with Kaido. Quinn was still dancing impromptu. I don't know if anyone was watching. Anyway, he was dancing happily now. He also got a group of younger brothers to dance with him. The slightly drunk Kaido looked around and found that something seemed to be missing. Where did Jin, Quinn, Shaina, Alga go? Several senior Carters gathered here, but except for Zorora, who was serving as the groom, even Olga was nowhere to be seen. However, this question lasted less than 5 seconds, and he turned his interest back to the wine in front of him. He is not the trainee of the past. It is impossible that he was kidnapped on Ghost Island. At this time, Olga was squatting in the corner, and the target of surveillance was her father. In the past, Arceus should be dancing with Quinn. They have a common topic in this regard, but today is different. The grand wedding scene affects not only young people, but also the elderly. Some people like Bingoro are reminiscing about the past, and some older widows like Arceus are also experiencing a second spring. He had lived in the dinosaur nest in Lantern Sama's belly for more than 100 years. If those dinosaurs were not stupid and did not find out that he was an imposter, he would have died in their mouths. That kind of life was even more boring and dull than what Olga had experienced. Olga could still run around with Elizabeth, but Athi was much more dangerous than her. After leaving there, they came to the Beast Pirates. During the time they were in contact with Nakin, they had a relationship. After all, being single for too long made him think that everything looked good. Sometimes he even thought that some Pokemon were cute, such as the sweet cold queen who took care of Cheyenne's Husu in the restaurant. And in a sense, this was not impossible. According to the historical records of the Pokemon world, many humans married Pokemon in ancient times. For example, Gardevoir, Sweet Cold Queen, Big Mouth Baby, Long-Eared Rabbit, etc. Later, some places even introduced laws to restrict this behavior. Olga, what are you doing? Shh, don't talk. Olga grabbed Elizabeth's neck and pulled her over to eavesdrop. She didn't object to this. Her mother had been dead for nearly 200 years. She had no reason to let Arceus maintain the status quo. She even cared about her father's situation. Don't you have an illusion? There's no need to be so sneaky, right? Elizabeth didn't understand why Olga had a better way to hide, but chose the slowest method. You don't understand, Elizabeth. You are still not familiar with humans. Although that way is better, it's more interesting this way. It's boring to stand out openly for such things. As she said that, she adjusted the angle of the mirror in her hand and began to peek at her father's behavior. At this time, there were more than one person who was peeping. For example, some pirates who couldn't hold back their thoughts appeared quietly in Giuli. Although the wedding venue was on Ghost Island, their new house was in Giuli. The two returned here just after the ceremony. After they went in for a while, some people followed quietly. Everyone, be careful. Just scare Big Brother's Aurora. They just went in. They won't be that fast. Making trouble within a suitable range won't make people angry. The leader is telling others to be careful. If they really make people angry, the consequences will be terrible. But before they can act, a strange sound suddenly came from their ears, and then several negative ghosts passed through their bodies. A maggot like me is living and wasting air. I shouldn't appear on the surface. I should burrow into the soil like an earthworm. Several people suddenly became negative. Negative ghosts are like rule-based weapons against ordinary people. They can't compete with this fruit ability at all. Ho, 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 ho. This is the third batch of fools. Are you also idle? Kumasi, leave it to you. She promised Setsuna and Aurora long before today that she would not let irrelevant people get close to her. She likes to stay up late. She is more energetic at night than during the day. What's more, she has been promised a dark new house, so she works very hard. After these people were affected by the negative ghost, the bear-wearing man silently stepped forward, opened his arms, and hugged all of them, then threw them directly into the river beside him, watched them being washed away, and then walked back into the darkness. Chapter 467, The Chatty Quinn, The Mysterious Whisper. Downstream of the river, a group of pirates picked them up. From their wet appearance, it can be seen that they had just swam out of the river not long ago. I said these guys couldn't succeed. Was I right? They were the people Perona had just mentioned. They were treated the same way. They were first tortured by the negative ghost and then thrown directly into the river by the bear wearing. They should thank the bear wearing for being familiar with controlling their power in order to take care of the children. Otherwise the bear hug would have broken their ribs. The wedding was over, but not completely over. This was only the first wedding. There would be 2 more weddings to be held later, and they were all different in nature. The wedding of Zhao was to let all the people of the tribe know about it, while the wedding of the outer island was a form of honor. If you don't return home with wealth and honor, it's like walking in the night with brocade clothes. Sometimes announcing something to the outside world is also to show your strength. However, the venue there is not as exquisite as here, and there is no need to repeat the vows that have already ended. The wedding of the outer island is more like a social event and a show of skill. Although everyone is nominally blessing the couple, they also talk about a lot of business issues in private. How come I didn't know that Quinn is such a good talker? Looking at Quinn giving a speech on the stage, Setsuna's face twitched a few times, and his business smile almost disappeared. Because they had to discuss some things, Quinn was still the host of the meeting, but he was not as brief as before, and he took the nonsense literature to the extreme. He first praised Kaido and Arceus, then showed off the beast's pirates, and then he showed off a few times, before agreeing with others, before talking about business. Sometimes it's not that he was deliberately made to take the blame, but his current lines can easily lead the blame to himself. Maybe I have restrained myself for too long. Don't mind, it won't last long. The fur tribe is not common in the open sea, let alone the wedding of the fur tribe, but the people who came here did not show any malicious eyes. Being able to get the invitation and come here shows that the relationship between their forces and the beasts is relatively close, and no one wants to cause any trouble at this time. Sister Setsuna, are you really married? When Setsuna and Aurora were whispering, there was a shout outside, which seemed very excited. Pokmus? Why are you here? Setsuna recognized Pokmus at a glance. This was Yang Jisi-Kan's training for her. Yang Jisi-Kan believed that Setsuna could take over his position. As the king of Zhao, he should at least recognize all the citizens. So every time Setsuna went back, Yang Jisi-Kan would introduce unfamiliar citizens to her. However, among all the kings of Zhao, only Yang Jisi-Kan did this, so Setsuna did not inherit this talent. However, she still remembered some people in key positions, such as the captain of the musket team, Dr. Sanayang, and so on. She remembered Pokmus, because his beaded eyes were too obvious. As a lion fur, the beaded eyes were completely inconsistent with his species, making him look nothing like a lion. So Setsuna later brought him a pair of sunglasses from the open sea. Pokmus himself also liked this thing that could cover his eyes, but he lost it in the previous shipwreck. I followed Pedro to the sea, and then Pokmus briefly explained his situation and his current experience. As he was talking, several chess soldiers and chefs came in carrying a huge wedding cake. Long time no see, both of you. This is the gift that Mom asked us to bring. Charlotte Moscato came in with Charlotte Blowell and Charlotte Mellies. They had met at the tea party before, so they were a little bit of a friend. Their appearance also surprised some people a little. This was a pirate wedding, and the Navy certainly would not appear here openly, but they would send all intelligence personnel to sneak in. Kaido, Charlotte Linlin, and Edward Newgate, the three most famous pirates on the sea, are all remnants of rocks. Even if they don't show up, the contact between their men will make some people nervous. They sneaked in just to make sure that this was not a blatant alliance. If something like that happened, and they couldn't get the intelligence, it would be a big trouble. That's Minister of Ice Cream Moscato. Are these two pirate groups really just doing business? In addition to these people, there are also people from various factions in the underground world. Some people have only heard of the relationship between the beasts and Big Mom. It is rare for Charlotte Linlin to send a normal gift, let alone send her children to congratulate in person. Even if Moscato's status is not as high as Katakuri and Cracker, he is also Charlotte Linlin's child and an important member of the pirate group. They who live in the new world cannot be unaware of this. This commercial wedding lasted for a long time, and most of the time was spent bragging. After finishing the things here, Zorora took Setsuna to Zao. This time, Quinn did not follow. The ceremony at Zao did not need Quinn to act as the master of ceremonies, so it was better to let him stay here and continue to brag. The big thing is the mother's family. Although Zao's back cannot be made like Onigashima, it also has a unique wild style. Through the contact of Denden Mushi, Zao has already prepared the wedding, and Pedro and others who sent other members back to Zao also received the news that Pokmus was safe. However, he did not plan to return to Zao, but returned to Cake Island as a member of the Big Mom Pirates. He also attended one of the 3 weddings, and asked Setsuna to report his safety to his parents on his behalf. He was worried that he would not be willing to leave Zao if he saw his parents. Moreover, he had sneaked out of Zao with Pedro at that age. If he went back like this, he would inevitably be taught a lesson. Not only Zorora and Setsuna went to Zao, but also the new generation of beasts brought by Arceus. On the one hand, he went to serve as the male parent, and on the other hand, Yamato and others wanted to see what Zao, the country on the back of an elephant, looked like. Hatch and Ling had the life card to return to Zao, and several thousand-year-old dragons flew to Zao. It was their own business to be able to fly, and the means of transportation was a matter of face. Otherwise some people would not bother to find a mount. The flight was very fast, but when approaching Zao, Arceus heard a dull voice in his ears. I'm so tired. It's been so many years. Is there anyone who can give me a rest? Chapter 468. Instructions spanning 1,000 years. Rest? Godfather, are you tired? Listening to Arceus's mumbling, Yamato looked at Arceus in confusion. It was the first time she heard this word from Arceus. In her cognition, Arceus had never said anything like tiredness. No, I just heard some special sounds. But no one said anything. Did you say anything? Yamato asked the others behind her, but all she got was a negative answer. Even the frost fairy in her arms gave a negative answer. Godfather, you must have heard hallucinations. How can anyone talk in such a high sky? Help no. Godfather, I seem to hear something too. Is someone shouting for help? Yamato felt that she heard a cry for help in the dark, and the voice was very familiar. You can't hear that voice now, but you did hear the cry for help correctly. Look to the lower left. Yamato looked over and saw 2 shadows falling. That's Salty and Peggy? What are they playing again? They didn't even take me with them. As the number of children and the beast's pirates increased, many things became strange. For example, they didn't feel scared when they saw someone falling from a high altitude. After all, page 1 had learned how to fly. The reason why he and Ulti fell was also very simple. The back of the Millennium Dragon was so big, and it was normal for them to fall while playing. However, when she fell, she grabbed page 1's ankle and took him down with her. Page 1 changed her form in the air and flew up again like a jet. Sister, can't you just be quiet? He suspected that Ulti brought him up just to play with him better, and he even had some evidence. He could judge his mood based on the way page 1 addressed him. If it was sister, it meant that he didn't have any fluctuations in his heart, but when it was changed to big sister or elder sister, it meant that his heart was hit hard and it was backstabbed by his own sister. What's the matter? You can fly anyway, Peggy. But if you didn't make trouble, we wouldn't have fallen down. It's not my fault. It's because Jack takes up too much space. Let's just fly over there. There will be no perverts to threaten you. Sister, you didn't pull me down on purpose to get away from Jack? How is that possible? How could I do that? The structure of his head made it difficult for him to see Ulti's expression, but Peggy felt that he had discovered the truth. Okay, Peggy, you have to trust me, sister. Hurry up and catch up. They are flying far away. After some minor setbacks, they successfully arrived at Zal and met up with Zerora and the others in midair. This was because Setsuna was holding Ling's life card and Zerora's acceleration just caught up. Everything was ready in the furry principality. Although they couldn't attract the starlight, the citizens went out together to collect the flowers blooming on Zal's back and decorate them on the outer city walls. For Zal, a country with a small population, marriage among the same tribe has always been a big deal, especially since Setsuna himself has the special status of the Duke's heir. Even Yang Jasi-kan participated in it. Although he has slightly shown his old age, he is still the same as before, organizing Zal's open-air venue. Here, Zerora and Setsuna did not have such complicated formal clothes, but simply wore wreaths, which is the tradition of Zal. The children of the beasts quickly integrated into the atmosphere of Zal. The fur tribe here has always been very enthusiastic about recognized friends, especially since most of them are animal type ability users. In the human beast form, mammalian ability users such as Yamato are not much different from the fur tribe. As the male parent, after participating in the wedding here, Arceus did not join their carnival, but left here when everyone was celebrating. Following the road inside Zal, Arceus crossed the whale forest and came to a slightly higher place. This place is already outside the furry principality, and under his feet is the head of the Zal giant elephant. During the ceremony, he faintly heard the complaining voice again. Arceus was not sure in the sky just now, but now he has completely determined the source of the sound. The complaining sound came from the Zal giant elephant. Are you tired? Of course. Can you hear me? There was a hint of surprise in the old voice. Its life was extremely long. Thousands of years ago, it had been carrying the furry principality on its back and walking on the sea. All this was because of the mistake he made. Because of that mistake, he was punished to carry the country on his back and walk on the sea, and he must not stop unless there is an order from someone else. This order can be anyone, as long as that person can understand his words, and what he says can also be understood by himself. Such a person is qualified to command him. It does not expect to get the order to be liberated, but with the order, he can at least move. Otherwise, even if it is attacked, it has no right to fight back. He has met such a person before, but such a person can only understand his sporadic words and cannot communicate with him. In fact, the giant elephant did not speak, but emitted a sound wave of a special frequency. This sound wave limits the person who can answer him, and it is also the person it has been waiting for. Stop if you're tired. The people of Zal are celebrating a wedding. You've been carrying the furry principality for so many years, so you naturally have a chance to rest. Really? A glimmer of light appeared in the eye sockets of the Zal giant elephant. Originally, its eye sockets were extremely dry and looked like hollows from a distance, but now, beautiful gem-colored pupils appeared in its eye sockets, which was a rare sight. Of course it's true. Did you order me to rest? Are you sure this is an order? The giant elephant's tone became excited. The original rules were like procedures to it, so it eagerly hoped that it could follow the entire procedure later. I ordered you to rest, but someone on your back is getting married, so you should celebrate for them too. As you command. After 1,000 years, the giant elephant stopped again, and its 1,000-meter long trunk was raised. Moo. The long elephant cry resounded through the sky, and even the clouds next to it were scattered by the huge sound. The entire furry principality was shrouded in the cry of the elephant master. Anyone can hear the joy in the elephant owner's heart. Even if they are different species, they can feel the emotion from the call. Chapter 469, Zhao's Wave King. Even if it was just a stroll, it was a grand project that lasted for 1,000 years. For the elephant master, it was like serving a sentence, and it was a sentence without a goal. It was waiting for a person, but not a fixed person. Similar people had appeared in the past 1,000 years, but they all seemed to have failed in the end. So to this day, the elephant master still walks on the sea. Until today, it is like living in a forgotten prison, and Arceus is the only warden who handed it the key in 1,000 years. The elephant's cry was to celebrate their wedding and express their inner joy. Take a proper rest when you are tired, but not for too long. The current furry principality is not suitable for being fixed in one place all the time. I understand that a short rest every day is enough. The scientific name of the elephant master is Natamia elephant. Due to the body structure of the double-jointed legs, this giant creature originally rests while standing, and this requirement is not complicated for him. The elephant master is now telling Arceus about his inner joy. Not only has he not rested for 1,000 years, he has not even communicated with other people in the past 1,000 years. Natamia was already rare in number, and it might be the last giant elephant in the world. Now there was someone who could communicate with it, or more accurately, a living creature. But no matter what, the elephant master couldn't help but feel happy. As a living fossil that had lived for nearly 1,000 years, Arceus naturally asked it about the stone tablet. I can't remember clearly. I have seen many meteorites in the past 1,000 years. I don't know which ones you want. Besides, after so many years, some islands have long disappeared. Although the elephant master didn't give any answers, it didn't affect anything. In the furry principality, Yang Khan and other fur tribes also noticed the elephant master's unusual movements. The elephant master actually stopped. Although the elephant master got a rest, it was not a good thing for the fur tribe. The furry principality relied on the elephant master to exist. Generation after generation of fur tribes reproduced on the elephant master's back. If the elephant master fell, it would be a devastating disaster for the furry principality. If they hadn't all sensed joy in the elephant master's voice, they would have panicked at this time. However, Yang Khan still ordered others to check on the elephant master. When he and Zorora came to the top of the elephant master, they knew what had happened. However, Yang Khan only knew that Zorora respected him very much. Only then did he realize that this respect was far more than that. Setsuna, come here. Setsuna came to Arceus's position after hearing the words, but she didn't understand what Arceus wanted to do. Lord Arceus, what are you going to do? How well have you mastered the power of Wava Guide? Basic use is no problem. She had obtained Lucario for a long time, and the power of Wava Guide was Lucario's most basic ability. Naturally, she had already mastered it by heart. The development of Wava Guide arrows was the most direct proof. Sit here and feel the elephant master's Wava Guide. I believe you can do this. I will help you. However, the power of Wava Guide is not only used for combat, it is also an excellent means of communication. Everything has its own unique Wava Guide. As long as you find the other party's Wava Guide, Lucario can communicate with each other through Wava Guide. Although he could communicate with the Lord of the Elephants, he did not intend to change the status quo rashly. The Lord of the Elephants was fearless in the sea, so there was no need to transform it immediately. Arceus would not stay here forever, so he needed another person who could communicate with the Lord of the Elephants, and Setsuna, who had obtained the ability of Lucario, was the best choice. Lucario, who controlled the power of wave guidance, was one of the most suitable Pokémon for this. Setsuna entered the form of Lucario, and waves of wave guidance were emanating from the surface of her body. She was trying to feel the unique wave guidance of the Lord of the Elephants. Come on, so you will have more opportunities to act in the future. Under Arceus communication, the Lord of the Elephants also let go of his mind and cooperated with Setsuna. The blue wave guidance power connected to the Lord of the Elephants from Setsuna's body. With the help of Arceus, she quickly established a new connection with the Lord of the Elephants, and the Lord of the Elephants' deep voice also rang in her mind. Under Setsuna's communication, the Lord of the Elephants raised his huge nose, and the nose like a giant pillar stopped in front of Setsuna, as if shaking hands with her. Clang, the scepter in Yang Jisi Khan's hand fell to the ground, and many fur tribes were also shocked. This was a situation they had never thought of from ancient times to the present. The elephant master could actually communicate. Looking at his hands, Yang Jisi Khan found that his fur was not as bright as it was in the past. Coupled with Setsuna's current performance, he confirmed his thoughts. Arceus did not stay here overnight, but left Zhao in advance, and before leaving, he asked Zerora to send Yamato and others back. Under the premise that Setsuna could communicate with the Elephant Master, even if someone brought a fleet, they would not be the opponent of the Elephant Master. The wedding continued, but at noon the next day, Yang Jisi Khan called Setsuna and Zerora over. "My Lord Duke, what are you going to do?" "Setsuna, you have grown up. You were still a little girl then, but now you are old enough to take over the throne of Zhao." "Wait, my Lord Duke, this seems a little early. I'm not ready yet." Many years ago, her goal was to become the first female Duchess of Zhao, but later she found that things were far from that simple. She felt overwhelmed even managing a simple farm in Jiuli, not to mention the more than 20,000 residents of Zhao. And according to her plan, she should have a honeymoon with Zerora first, then help Arceus search for the stone tablets, and finally travel around the world. After having a few children, it is time to take over the throne. It's enough. Although there is the help of that person, you are the first fur tribe who can communicate with the Elephant Master in 1,000 years. I should also take a rest. From today on, you are the Duke of Zhao. The people of Zhao will obey your command, and you will lead Zhao to move forward. Yang Jisigan took off the crown and handed it to Setsuna solemnly. Seeing that Yang Jisi Khan had made a decision, Shanna knew that it was difficult to refuse, but she had a new idea. "Duke, will you also obey my orders?" Although it felt a bit strange, Yang Jisi Khan still gave a positive answer. "Yes, I'm also a citizen of Zhao, and I'm no longer a duke." "Okay, then I order you as the new Duke of Zhao to temporarily take charge of Zhao's affairs until I finish my business." Chapter 470. I predicted your prediction. The combat device of the fur tribe. Yang Jisi Khan's face was full of puzzled eyes. After being a duke for so many years, he also planned to take a break. The fur tribe with the moonstone can enter the moon lion state at any time, and the safety has been greatly improved. The Elephant Master walking aimlessly is not so easy to find, not to mention that the elite musketeers and knights have already mastered the moon lion state. In addition, the strength of Zerora and Setsuna has made Yang Jisi Khan feel far behind. If he leaves Zhao to them, he can live a retirement life with peace of mind. Not to mention that Setsuna can still communicate with the Elephant Master. The huge body may not be flexible enough, but the Elephant Master's every move is a terrible disaster for the outside world. In the past, being an enemy of the fur tribe meant being an enemy of the country, referring to the fur tribe of the entire country, but now it is different. This is really an enemy of the country. The attack launched by the Elephant Master has long exceeded the scope of manpower. Although he is a king who maintains the status quo, he knows the residents of Zhao well enough. When he was a child, Setsuna clamored to be a female duchess. Before, she said that she would wait until after marriage, and thought that they could become the new king in Zhao as a couple, but she didn't expect that she would do this now. Duke Yang Jisihan, no, I should call you senior now. Senior, this is the order of the new duke. I don't think I'm suitable to rule Zhao now, so this important task is handed over to you. It doesn't seem right to say this. Anyway, everything should be as it is. She used to think that the position of the duke was high and no one would stop her from doing anything she wanted, but now she understands that the position brings not only power, but also obligations in the future of the race. She hasn't had enough fun yet, and she is willing to contribute to the big ship of the fur tribe, but she is not ready to be the helmsman all the time. Wait, that's not right. Didn't I pass the position of Duke to you? Yes, but I ordered you to be the agent as a Duke. According to the outside countries, this should be called the Regent. Anyway, you are very experienced. Just continue everything. I will come back in a few years. No, I'm so old now, and it's time to take a rest. In this case, I will use my current power to order you to take over this position again. Yang Jesse-kan tried to let the other party take over this position in the form of nesting dolls, but the facts were different from what he thought. No, I'm the Duke now. You have already given me the position, right? Touching the empty top of his head, Yang Jesse-kan suddenly discovered the problem. The handover ceremony of Zhao was very simple. During this period of time, everyone had recognized Setsuna as the heir, so he only needed to announce it unilaterally. As long as he finished that sentence, it meant that the transfer of the Duke's position was over. From then on, as a retired Duke, he needed to obey the decrees of the new Duke, but the new Duke did not have to listen to him. This is also the reason why Setsuna asked Yang Jesse-kan to be the regent, and did not reappoint him as the Duke. She has blocked the possibility of Yang Jesse-kan shirking his responsibility from the root. In addition, in order to prevent accidents, she did not set a date at all. In a sense, the day she took over the throne is always tomorrow, not today. Don't worry, you will have to work hard for more than 10 years at most. You are still in your prime now, don't rush to retire. According to the original timeline, Inarashi and Cat VIP had already taken over the position of Zhao, and Yang Jesse-kan had disappeared, but the situation is different now. With material assistance, everything in Zhao is thriving. In this case, as the helmsman of Zhao, he will naturally feel better and his physical condition will also become healthier. Yang Jesse-kan was forced to take over the position of regent without knowing what to say. After this decree was announced, the young people didn't feel anything, because it seemed to make no difference to them. Although the old people who knew Yang Jesse-kan's previous duke were slightly surprised, they just lamented that they could not keep up with the trend of young people. Although the nominal Duke of Zhao has been replaced, everything remains the same as before, and Shana's behavior also reminded Yang Jesse-kan that he has begun to look for some more talented people in the Fur tribe to share these things. Looking at the tribesmen below, Yang Jesse-kan couldn't help but sigh that the world has changed, and the throne has become a hot thing. However, this kind of thing can only happen in the special environment of the Fur tribe. It is impossible for ordinary countries to happen. The competition for royal power has long made people lose their humanity. Fathers and sons kill each other, and brothers kill each other. People who hand over power in advance may not have their own protection in their later years, so most people in most countries will hold on to those powers as long as they have a breath left. Everything was the same after the celebration, but Yang Jesse-kan felt that his head was a lot balder, but this unsuccessful replacement ceremony was not without any effect. The Fur tribe's musket team carried out a new round of clothing changes. There is a big difference between the Fur tribe and ordinary humans. That is, they are not afraid of static electricity. They can use the power of static electricity in their fur to fight, and the wool of the melee sheep also has this characteristic. So a batch of combat uniforms made of untreated melee sheep wool were sent to Zhao. They look like ordinary clothes, and have no special abilities. Ordinary people will be tortured to death by static electricity when wearing them. The pain of being electrocuted when touching the card or in the dry winter is not a good experience. But the Fur tribe is different. This static electricity can be combined with their own static electricity, so that they can use a stronger current. Moreover, when powered on, this kind of clothing also inherits the fluffiness of melee sheep wool, which can effectively reduce the possibility of accidental explosion of the Fur tribe's clothes when transforming. The style of the clothes is still the same as the inherent clothing of the Fur tribe. The difference is that there is an additional storage belt on it. There is a groove in the position of the belt buckle, which can be used to inlay the moonstone. When needed, just press the switch on the belt, and the back will be opened, allowing the moonstone to come into contact with the body of the Fur tribe, and then transform into a moon lion. At the end of the battle, pressing the switch again can cut off the contact between the moonstone and the body, thus cancelling the transformation state. This can be regarded as an equipment update for the Fur tribe rifle team and a night group. The combat uniform and transformation belt are still very cool things just by sounding. Chapter 471. Here is a suggestion for a new name. Everything in ZA is still going on. Perona, who came to ZA with her adoptive parents, likes the living environment of the fur tribe. The furry fur tribe is very suitable for her cuteness, especially the bear fur tribe. The only flaw is that the fur tribe can speak. She still prefers furry creatures that can't speak, such as her own wearing bear, but this time the wearing bear did not come to ZA with her. Everything in ZA is going on as usual. During the period when Setsuna had not left ZA, Yang Jesse-kan asked her and Zerora to stay with him on the grounds that she had to learn how to manage ZA, which was also a slight attack on Setsuna's nesting dolls. Soon after, Setsuna also found Pedro and Jipo, who returned. Pokmus is fine. He joined someone else's pirate group by chance. Let me tell you not to worry. She had already told Pokmus's parents before. They didn't say anything about their son's choice to go out and make a living, but they asked more about his situation. Pokmus went out with Pedro and the others, so he had to tell them about it. There was good news and bad news, but the bad news was told by Yang Jesse-kan. Jibo, your brother Bibo. Bibo? What happened to Bibo? A slightly taller white bear fur tribe member with a tuft of black hair on his head asked anxiously. The musketeers left Zhao to observe the situation in the sea, and he also hid in the hanging basket secretly. They didn't notice Bibo, so he accidentally drifted away. The fur tribe left Zhao, probably because of the influence of others. 2 years after Inarashi and Nico VIP left Zhao, Setsuna also secretly left Zhao because he was dissatisfied. After Pedro decided to go to sea, Pokmus also chose to follow him. Bibo was too young at that time, so Jibo didn't take him with him, and he accidentally got lost while following his brother's footsteps. Did he bring the life card? We are not sure about this either. The monks who are out have to rely on the life card to return to Zhao. At the beginning, Setsuna couldn't find the way home because she didn't have a life card, let alone Bipo now. Finally, the Marks expedition team has a new goal. While continuing with the previous goal, they also plan to find Bipo. As for whether they can find him, they have to rely on luck. However, because of the previous experience, Pedro kept all the members who could not control the moon lion. He underestimated the danger of the open sea before. Pedro, I suggest that your expedition team change its name. Huh? Why? This pronunciation is a bit like rocks. I guess your high bounty is also related to the world government. The 382 million berry bounty is not weak in the new world. This bounty is even higher than Setsuna's, but Zerora is basically responsible for her bounty not being able to go up. Although Lucario is also very strong in melee combat, most of the time other people have no chance to get close to Setsuna. She only needs long-range firepower support. Once someone can get close to her, they will find that their prediction is wrong. She is an archer, and there is a huge difference between archers and musketeers. With a little training, even the elderly, weak, women and children can pick up those old-fashioned flintlock rifles and fire. Range is the advantage of muskets. When facing opponents rushing to their side, musketeers will be very embarrassed, but archers are different. Don't think that they are weak in melee combat just because archers are long-range means. Since ancient times, archers have been the elite of the army. Pulling a strong bow is much more tiring than swinging a sword. Archers are even stronger than infantry after picking up melee weapons. It's just that infantry takes shape quickly, and it takes time to cultivate a great archer, so no one is willing to let these elites go to melee combat. Bows and arrows are Setsuna's advantage, but melee combat is not her weakness. It's just that in front of Zerora's speed, the enemy rarely has the opportunity to fight her in melee. This led to the fact that she was just a mascot in the Navy's intelligence, and the bounty was very ordinary, at the same level as that of Mandafesh's deputy, such as Paman. Even Shaina's deputy Emmeline had a higher bounty than her. However, Pedro's bounty was not low, because of the increase in the moon lion. They could not set the bounty according to the normal situation, and it must be arranged according to the enemy's strongest form. Of course, Setsuna felt that Pedro's bounty was so high that it might be related to someone's hearing loss. The spellings of rocks and narks are somewhat similar. Although the government tried its best to conceal the existence of rocks, even the new generation of Navy Vice Admirals did not know this name, but Kaido, as a remnant of rocks, would naturally tell his people about the original incident. I quite like this name. It's just a personal suggestion. It doesn't matter if you don't change it. Anyway, you have been labeled. Then she began to tell Pedro what to pay attention to in the open sea. She has been hanging out overseas for much longer than Pedro, who has been at sea for less than a year. She knows much more about what to be careful about and who not to mess with than Pedro. Afterwards, Setsuna and Zerora took Yamato and the others to play in Zao for a while, and then left Zao under Yang Jisoo-kan's slightly resentful eyes. In the future, they will probably come back every few months, or she will come back when the Elephant Master arrives near Wano country for repairs. That was what she communicated with the Elephant Master before leaving. As a monster that has lived for thousands of years, the Elephant Master will not get lost in the current like a ship. It has a unique ability to distinguish directions. Pedro also went out to sea again with Jippo after resting. He also had no objection to Setsuna becoming the new duke. In fact, according to the original plan, he planned to stay in Zao for a while. But he found that Yang Jisoo-kan wanted to drag him into the water. He also didn't want to be entangled in management matters, so he simply chose to continue to go to sea. Taking advantage of Zerora and Setsuna's wedding, the Beast's pirates finalized a lot of new business, some of which were happy and some were worried. Those who made the business were naturally very happy, but some people were not so happy. For example, Umit, known as the deep sea laminar flow, has almost monopolized the underground shipping in the new world because he has mastered a special shipping channel. Others do have it, but they cannot compare with him in terms of speed and safety. Beishao also made a lot of money when transporting things, but the situation has changed recently. Bailey has been depreciating at a certain trend in recent years. With the depreciation of currency, the prices of many things have begun to rise. The price in the underground world is even more so. It may only increase by a few thousand Bailey outside, but it has increased several times here. Most people can't do anything about this monopoly, but Beishao is different. They can transport most of the things themselves. Originally, they used Umit to transport some secret small things. Since he raised the price, Beishao chose to go it alone. Chapter 472, Extreme Ocean Currents and Laplace. This world is the home of the ocean. Whoever can master the special currents can gain the advantage. The Judicial Island, the Navy headquarters, and the undersea prison can establish a fast communication channel because of the closed triangular currents. The locations where they were built also refer to the reasons for the currents. Umit also became the king of shipping because of some secret currents, but no matter how safe the currents are, they are not as safe as under the sea. As long as you sail on the sea, there is a possibility of encountering other ships, but it is different underwater. Submarine technology is not well developed, and there are not many weapons for underwater. The situation of the fishmen is not bad now. After recruiting a group of suitable fishmen, the underwater transport team unique to the beasts can be established. As long as some secret things are well waterproofed, everything can be arranged from underwater. Although there are no special currents in their territory, Arceus has begun to change the environment. The water drop slate constantly emits an invisible energy, which spreads to the nearby sea area with the flow of the current and gradually sinks into the mud on the seabed. It seems that nothing has happened, but the Magikarp living in the affected ocean currents seem to have sensed something, and even the twisting of their bodies has become more powerful. The oceans of each world are different. The oceans in the One Piece world contain a large number of special components, so they restrain ability users. In the oceans of other worlds, without the influence of such particles, ability users can swim freely. Similarly, some special things only exist in the world of Pokemon, such as the Gigantamax domain in some areas of Galar. There, Pokemon will become gigantic, and this phenomenon may happen to any Pokemon. After the Gigantamax, the Pokemon will have great power. Some of them can also become Super Gigantamax. Super Gigantamax does not simply bring about an increase in size, but also a unique image and exclusive Super Gigantamax moves. However, in the Galar region, Gigantamax can only appear in specific occasions. What Arceus is doing now is to increase the combat effectiveness of the underwater transport team. Pokemon like Gyarados are not suitable for transportation, both in terms of personality and size. The most suitable ones are those with gentle personality, large carrying capacity, and amphibious. In this case, a group of Pokemon formerly known as Dragonite and now named Lapras appeared in this sea area. Lapras is known as a carrying Pokemon. It has a grey shell under its overall blue appearance, but it cannot retract like a turtle. In addition to its kind nature, Lapras's IQ is also a relatively high type among Pokemon. It is very cold resistant and not afraid of the ice sea. It can come and go freely even in the cold sea and can understand the meaning of humans in more detail. The supergiant Lapras can even allow more than 5,000 people to ride on the shell on its back. In addition to its own cargo transportation, it can also play a strategic role. Manderfresh is stationed on the island, where he and Rusalka still stay. He missed the wedding of Onigashima, but there is nothing he can do about it. The territory of the beasts needs to be stationed, and many cardos are indispensable. Maui. A slightly mournful voice came from the seaside, and swam into the island along the swimming path built by Manderfish. Although Lapras can crawl on land like turtles, they still live in the ocean most of the time. Ocean, ice, land. This is how Lapras choose their routes. Fish, did you hear any sound? I heard it. It should be the things arranged by the upper level. This time they are testing some new things. Manderfish looked in the direction of the sound. Brother Manderfish, I'm coming. In addition to a few Lapras, there is also Jack. Lapras who are traveling for the first time don't know the way. In order to prevent them from losing their destination, Jack, as a fishman, takes on the task of navigator. It's just this time. As long as they come here once, Lapras will remember this island, and when they come here for the second time, they will no longer need a guide. These are newly created creatures by Lord Arceus. We are here for transportation tests this time. He patted the special sealed box behind Laplace. After opening it, there was a dry white paper inside, without any signs of being wet. In addition, some special materials needed by the island were also sent by Laplace. Some fragile items were also included. Overall, the quality of transportation was not a big problem. As for safety issues, they were also tested on the way. There is no need to consider the problem of pirates in the deep sea. The only ones who may attack Laplace are sea beasts or sea kings. The transportation process was very smooth this time. Ordinary sea beasts are not Laplace's opponents, and they did not encounter sea kings during this voyage. In fact, as long as they do not enter the doldrums, the chances of encountering sea kings are minimal. As long as they avoid the areas where they live, sea kings are too lazy to go outside the doldrums most of the time. Rusalka stroked Laplace's neck, and a cool feeling came to her hand. If she took Laplace in the summer, she would probably feel very comfortable. Then the two Lapras returned to the water again. This time they wanted to test the time it would take to return to Onigashima at full speed. Previously, because of Jack, Lapras could not go at full speed. Because Jack's tonnage was too large, he was growing faster and faster when he reached puberty. If Lapras did not undergo Gigantamaxing, he would feel awkward sitting on it, so he was always by his side. Lapras is also a fast type among water type Pokemon. This time it was a new speed collection. Watching Lapras re-enter the water, Jack also sent a message back to Onigashima. However, Onigashima was not the only one investigating the Pokemon situation. At this time, Vegapunk in the Research Institute also stopped his research due to some circumstances. Interesting, are the IQs of these creatures so high? At the beginning, those people captured 2 Gyarados and sent them here. After a period of research, Vegapunk successfully developed a machine that can control sea beasts. There was no problem controlling ordinary sea beasts, and there was no problem with the initial test on Gyarados. He thought he had developed a complete control device, but in the experiment not long ago, an accident occurred. Those Gyarados made some noises in the ocean during the previous tests. He didn't pay much attention to it at first, but in the last experiment, more Gyarados appeared nearby and successfully took away the 2 test subjects. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 473 Red Gyarados, Robin about to set sail. If they were just taken away, he would not be so surprised, but the intelligence of those Gyarados was beyond his imagination, and they actually knew how to destroy the controllers on the two Gyarados heads. Watching the screen on the monitor turn into black and white garbled characters, Vegapunk, with the number 2 written on his chest, touched his chin, and his plain face became more lively. From the upward angle of his mouth, it can be seen that he has a lot of interest in this matter. He tapped the keyboard in front of him a few times, and huge changes occurred in the studio, and many more defense measures were added to the outside world. According to his past research on Gyarados, this creature should be very vengeful. In this case, they are likely to come back for revenge. Vegapunk's own guess is not wrong, but he underestimated the evolution of creatures. In the distant deep sea, the two Gyarados that regained their freedom roared angrily, and it was this sound that attracted other Gyarados before. If it was just according to the habits of Gyarados, they would indeed retaliate immediately, but these two Gyarados did not get the recognition of their companions, but were hit on the head by a whitetail. Through the dark sea water, it can be seen that it is a red Gyarados. Since Arceus transformed the Magikarp has spread all over the world. Under this huge base, some special individuals have also appeared among the Magikarp, such as the Golden Magikarp. Except for the giant carp that Arceus originally transformed, these Magikarp are the products of reproduction. They only remember one of Arceus' orders: search, return, and report. But this Magikarp seems to have achieved atavism. Arceus' order has a deeper impact on it, and its individual has become different. Compared with ordinary Gyarados, it is smarter, and is also a special individual who has seen Arceus during the pilgrimage. Faced with such a unique Gyarados, Arceus also strengthened it by the way, making it even more unique. Roar. Under the coercion of this red Gyarados, the two Gyarados followed it, and left in an orderly manner. This is the tribe consciousness of the Gyarados. The powerful Gyarados is a leader. This red Gyarados is bigger and stronger, so it can naturally command them. It even left pheromones belonging to the Gyarados on the rocks in this sea area when it left, warning other Gyarados to stay away from this dangerous area. At the same time, it also noted the location of the island, intending to report everything during the next pilgrimage. Then there was another roar, and the group of Gyarados completely disappeared in the sea. The day of their pilgrimage was approaching. As for whether Gyarados from other seas would be captured and brought here, or whether Gyarados would accidentally break in, that was no longer something it considered. Although it was smarter than other Gyarados, this was almost its limit. Roar after a while, in the senior Wano country, as the last Gyarados dived into the water, this year's pilgrimage was considered to be over, and Arceus also received such news. Quinn. From the location of Wano country, swim eastward at the speed of Gyarados for 12 days, then swim southward for a month, and mark that location. Lord Arceus, what is this? It may be a research institute of Vegapunk. Haven't you heard of it before? Although it's not worth doing anything now, I don't know in the future. No, although we are in the same research group, we are just members of the same group. Vegapunk has the most secrets, and the current research institute may be provided by the world government. Quinn did not ask Arceus why he knew this. He was used to these things. Although he was a scientist, he had seen too much theology. Apart from anything else, Pokemon, a creature that transcends biological common sense, is enough to be theological. At the same time, Setsuna, who had thrown out trivial matters to Yang Jesse-kan, also ended his new honeymoon trip with Zorora. At this time, they had returned to the new house in Giuli. The house was not very big, but it was very warm. At the same time, Verona also moved into the basement of the house. It's not that Setsuna and Zorora abused her, but she just liked the environment in the basement, which was decorated like a little princess room. February 7th, 1508. Snow. Although I'm married, I don't feel the feeling my mother talked about. Maybe I'll know when I have a child, but I don't feel any burden raising Verona. Maybe it's because they are not my biological children, but I don't know when I will have my own. Yang Jesse-kan urges me to go back once a month to officially take over the position of Duke, but I still don't want to take over directly. Sure enough, people's dreams will change when they grow up. As they gain more knowledge, some people's dreams will change accordingly, but there are also some people who can stick to it. Setsuna can't say that she doesn't want to be a king at all, but now she feels that she can't bear such a big responsibility. I miss the carefree days when I was a kid, but it seems to be pretty good now. Glancing at Zerora outside the window, Setsuna closed her notebook again. Keeping a diary for years has become a habit for her. Not many people can stick to this habit. Even if someone in the Beast's Pirates forgets the details of some big things, they will look for Setsuna. Because if she flips through her diary, she is likely to find some details. However, there is another thing that happened this year. Nico Robin is 16 years old. This age is no different from an adult in the world of pirates. It is also time for her to go out as agreed. According to the agreement made that year, she will leave Wano country now and explore some ruins in the outside world. Her identity is not registered with the world government, and she is not a wanted pirate, so she can do these things through normal channels. Compared to her who started to wander around various forces at the age of 8 and experience the dark side of the world, this is already a good life. It is also her own wish to choose to sail. Although she now has the tendency to change her job to a Pokemon doctor, she is still a doctor of history in essence. And whether it is a missing historical text or the stone slab that may be sealed in some ruins, a more professional person is needed to do it. She told Yamato about this a few days ago, but Yamato seemed to have disappeared after that. It was not until today, when she was about to set sail, that she saw Yamato again with a bruised face. "What's wrong with you?" "Nothing. I went to ask my father for something." "Come with me. I'll let Dog draw something for you." 2 updates today. I'll adjust my state. I've been feeling weird lately. I should be able to recover tomorrow. I think I have caught this tail. Note, the results have not dropped. They are still rising, although the increase is not large. The comment area is just because of the big censorship, not deletion, and I'm not finished. According to new gossip, it will end on the 2nd. Chapter 474 Ghost Princess. Yamato took Robin to his room. Before Robin figured out what was going on, Tutu had already drawn a special skull pattern on her shoulder. There was no doubt that it was Kaido's pirate flag. "This is Father's pirate flag. Although you are not wanted, it is better to go out with this. Just cover it with this sleeve. If you really encounter any trouble, this flag will definitely help you." This is Yamato's current understanding. That is, Kaido's pirate flag has enough deterrence on the sea and can shock many people. In fact, this is also the case. In the complex new world, the pirate flag of the Sea Emperor is the best shelter. Isn't the wound on your face caused by this? Looking at the bruised Yamato, Robin suddenly understood why she disappeared these days. "Not really. My father is like this, but he really hit hard this time. The super real rookie physique plus Kaido's blood physique, plus the physical enhancement of the improved version of the big mouth real god, plus the trace of will of the double dragons in the body also has a certain enhancement. Even with the buffs stacked up, there are still obvious scars on her face, which fully shows how hard Kaido has dealt." Robin was not wrong. She made this trip just to let Robin sail with Kaido's flag. Robin is now a free person and is not a wanted criminal by the world government. Moreover, O'Hara and the Beasts are just a mutually supportive relationship. All they need is the other party's research on historical data. In this case, as an unaffiliated force, they are not qualified to use Kaido's flag. Providing convenience in other aspects is already a great convenience. The Beast's Pirates are Kaido's Beast's Pirates after all. Lending a flag to others must be approved by Kaido. Even if those big carders have the same power, the flag must be approved by Kaido after it is given out. Flags are like tokens for pirates. Burning and destroying the other party's pirate flag means a signal of declaration of war. Similarly, using someone else's pirate flag without permission also means a declaration of war once it is discovered. Impersonating other pirate groups usually comes at a great price. Even though Yamato is the eldest daughter of the Beast's Pirates, she still does not have the qualifications to lend a flag to someone alone. So in order to help her friend once, she chose to ask Kaido for a flag. Kaido's answer was also very simple: yes, but it depends on whether she has the qualifications and the magnanimity to use her own flag. This method naturally only has the one way to fight. In Kaido's view, the most effective way to prove value and qualifications is force. The 14-year-old Yamato has also entered her puberty, and all aspects of her body are in a stage of rapid development. She has become much stronger than when she was a child. Without Kaido using his ability and releasing a C at the same time, she fought with Kaido for 3 days and 3 nights. Although these 3 days and 3 nights were just playing for Kaido, they were challenging Yamato's limits. After the last Wushi Binya exhausted his physical strength, Kaido also laughed wildly. Give it to whoever you want. You can use my flag as you wish. After leaving such a sentence, Kaido left Yamato on the training island and left alone. He returned to Onigashima only after her physical strength was almost restored. Kaido was very satisfied with this performance. Even if he didn't use his ability, there were not many people who could play with him in his normal state for 3 days. Even supernovas were basically a one-shot deal. Except for those who wore the Bug of the Resurrection armor card, it was not easy for the newcomers in the first half to let him play second. Hey, there is also this. I got the fabric from Brother Jin. This thing is waterproof, breathable and light blocking. He doesn't feel uncomfortable wearing it on his face every day. There will be no problem making a sleeve. Isn't it something I decided long ago when I set off? Why do you have to do so much? What are you talking about? Aren't we friends? There are not so many things between friends. By the way, there is also this. I asked my foster father for it. Yamato took out a red Kaiensau wrist, but this Kaiensau wrist was hollow inside and looked more like a conch flute. Father has created a lot of Pokemon in the past few years. There are many Gyarados and Lapras in the sea now. I heard from Jack that there are Swampert and the like on Fishman Island. If you blow this at the beach, Pokemon around who hear it will come over. It's not so dangerous to get this flute. It's just a matter of words. Robin didn't refuse Yamato's kindness, but after struggling for a while, she still asked a question. Yamato, Lord Arceus also has the power to give this flag, right? Yes. Father and father don't care about such things. Then why don't you ask Lord Arceus directly? What? Although it was a bit heartbreaking, Robin still asked this question. In fact, Yamato also wanted to go out together at that time. She and Robin were only 2 years apart in age, but Arceus directly rejected it. Looking at Yamato with a confused face, Robin suddenly understood Arceus's idea. If no one was watching her when she went out to sail, it would be easy for her to be sold directly. Although those people probably couldn't beat her, they would have to be taught a lesson in the end. Yeah, why? Can't I just go find my foster father? The difference is not particularly big, just the difference between fighting hard for 3 days and 1 sentence, but she didn't think so much at the time, just thought that Kaido should be found with Kaido's flag, and forgot about the workaround. But her actions were not without gain. Robin did not set off immediately, and her initial route was still planned, so she now walked to the cafeteria of Onigashima as usual. But the pirates who saw Yamato changed her name to her. It was no longer Miss Yamato, but Onihime-sama. Only the Carters still use the name Miss Yamato. Hey, wait a minute, why are you calling me Onihime-sama? Onihime-sama, this is what Governor Kaido meant. He made this request after he came back. This is not just a change of name. Miss Yamato means that she is just Kaido's daughter, and when her name becomes Onihime-sama, it means that in Kaido's eyes, Yamato has become a qualified heir. Chapter 475 Come, Fight. Yamato inexplicably got the title of Onihime. While she was accepting this new title, Kaido and Arceus were doing another thing. In the entire Onigashima, the adopted orphans and the female children of the members of the pirate group were gathered together. They had one thing in common, that is, they were generally younger than Yamato. They were selecting a team for Yamato. Although Mariah and Jack were familiar with Yamato, they were trained as the current Carters of the Beasts. Even Ulti and Page 1 were the same. Even the weakest Isuka and the least visible Perona were friends of the same generation as her in terms of seniority. For the heir of a force, they needed not only friends, but also subordinates. What Yamato needed at this time was a group of subordinates of her own team. They didn't need to be too strong, because no matter how strong they were, they couldn't be better than Yamato. It was just to train her way of doing things in advance. Jack, Mariah and the others were very young. After Yamato took over Kaido's position, these were already made teams. These people were just to make her familiar with the management model. That none has trained them well. What do you think? Misu continued the original monastery style and designed the monastery uniforms by herself, but the logo of the 1,000 cosmic arms on the chest was very obvious. However, this uniform was strongly supported by Shaina. Originally, many things within the Beast's pirates were handed over to other people to do, and they did not report such trivial matters at all. Coupled with Misu's fanatical character, these children who grew up in the monastery have a kind of worship for Arceus. Don't talk about this. Isn't it for Yamato to select the team? You come first. After my selection is over, these people will have no strength. Compared with Kaido, Arceus's assessment content is very simple, just an exam, such as dealing with sudden situations, what to do if Yamato stubbornly carries out a dangerous mission, etc. He does not require Yamato's deputy to be very strong, at least he must learn to report back the news. The expressions of the children below were very excited. Those who were orphans had developed a special worship for Arceus under Misu's preaching. Only the descendants of pirates were because of their parents' instructions. Most of their parents were old pirates who had fought with Kaido at the beginning. Some of them were even pirates on both sides. In their minds, they didn't think there was anything wrong with their children being pirates like themselves. Kaido was quite good to these old subordinates who survived to this day. In Arceus' previous arrangements, the small leaders of the security places and armed departments in Wano were mostly these pirates who had retired from the front line of the beasts. This time, he explained to the old pirates that he wanted to select a few confidants for Yamato. For them, this was no different from an exam that determined their fate. It was a step to heaven, which would definitely save them a lot of detours than struggling on their own. The 7th rank official in front of the Prime Minister, even if he was just a serviceman, was much more comfortable than the small cadres outside. Their parents had repeatedly asked them to work hard and spare no cost. Arceus's assessment was carried out very quickly, and half of the people were eliminated. Many people's answers were not satisfactory, such as what to do when Oni-sama acted impulsively. Some people's answer was to take the lead, which was understandable, but the subsequent questions, such as what Oni-sama should do when she encounters an unmatched opponent. Some people actually answered to go up to help, which was a serious ignorance of strength. Most of the time, they were not qualified to act as a meat shield when facing an enemy that Yamato could not fight against. Even if they went up, they could only cause trouble. Asking for help was the only result. At the same time, there were people who only filled in one answer, no matter what the question was, such as listening to Oni-sama's arrangements. Although such people were loyal and could stand the test, their autonomy was too poor, so they were naturally passed. After another round of re-examination, only a dozen people were left. Almost, you can pick these people. After selecting the approximate group, Arceus handed the rest of the things to Kaido, and they only realized at this time how gentle Arceus's test was compared to Kaido's selection. Come on, fight. Looking at the remaining dozen people, Kaido succinctly stated his requirements. You don't need so many people around Yamato. Well, 3 is enough. Now you can start fighting until only 3 people are left standing. The remaining 3 people can follow Yamato. Although the strength of these people is not important, Kaido's inherent thinking still hopes that they can be relatively strong, at least the stronger ones among the competitors. This is also the reason why he asked Arceus to come first, otherwise they will not have the energy to take the exam after the fight here. What, don't you understand what I say? No weapons are allowed, start now. As Kaido gave the order again, someone with a smart mind finally reacted and punched the person around him who usually had a normal relationship. The growth process of the children of pirates is destined to be different from that of ordinary people. Fighting training is commonplace. With the first person to take action, the melee will begin. Kaido also watched with interest. To him, this is a real fight between children, but he appreciates those who fight for their goals. Of course, the premise is that this person is one of his own. Determining one's own value by force has always been one of the things he appreciates most. Those who were more familiar with each other began to huddle together for warmth. More than a dozen people were divided into several factions, all fighting for the ultimate goal. Is it meaningful? Of course it is. Although they can't compare to that girl Yamato, it's best to be able to fight some. However, in this kind of melee, it's hard to say who will win. Kaido's childhood has been fighting on the battlefield. At the beginning, he didn't have the strong physique he has now, so he understood that in a multi-person melee with similar strength, it is impossible to win by strength alone. This also tests their combat thinking. He is not optimistic about the group that is fighting the most fiercely now. Although they have the largest number of people, they are too obvious. Their purpose is very clear, to solve the external enemy first, and then compete internally. If others are smarter, then they will be attacked by the group. Without the strength to crush others, doing this on the battlefield is to seek death. The trial ended quickly. In the end, there were only 3 people left on the field. 2 of them were in a team, and the other was a lone traveler who persisted to the end in the melee. Very good, Celicia, Speed, and Mizuka, the 3 of you have been selected. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.